to flash pictures up there, and they have a thumb drive.
All right, good evening, everybody. A little past 7:30, I'm going to call the Oradell Borough Council meeting for Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 to order. Notice of this meeting was published in the official newspapers and prominently posted in Borough Hall and filed with the municipal clerk in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Mr. Schuber, would you be kind enough to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pat. We have a roll call, please, Laura.
Mayor Koth,
Here.
Mr. Kelly,
Here.
Mr. Dashian,
here.
Mr. Kern,
Here.
Mr. Gullo,
Here.
Ms. Hare,
Here.
Mr. Banjo.
Here.
All right. To start the
Your Honor,
meeting,
may I just make one quick note? We're having a little trouble with sound. If you have your phone on and don't need it, please turn it off. If you have your phone on and need it, turn it to airplane mode. Thank you. Sorry. That's it.
I thought we bought new microphones that got rid of that problem.
It's the problem is the phone does something with the microphones and it kind of goes. So when they're sending out the programs, sometimes you'll get in the middle of a statement or people are talking and you'll hear it's like static. It does like static.
Okay. So to start the meeting, I'm going to do something that I had hoped to do on the 4th of July, but the gentleman was not able to be with us that day. This is the best part of the meeting for me. I want to take a minute, a little bit more than a minute, because I'm going to read the entire proclamation to recognize somebody that means a lot to this community, somebody who I would call a friend, a mentor, probably one of the greatest public servants I've come to idolize based on his career and what he's done for the state, the county, and the borough. He currently serves as our historian. I want to ask Pat to just join me up at the table, and I'm going to read a proclamation that we were supposed to give him on the 4th of July. So I just... All right. We'll rely on this. Perfect. So I want to read this proclamation honoring the Grand Marshal of our 4th of July parade, William Pat Schuber, on the 250th anniversary of American independence, July 4th, 2026. Whereas William Pat Schuber is a distinguished public servant, educator, attorney, military veteran, and proud resident of the borough of Oradell, whose decades of dedicated leadership have left an enduring impact on Bergen County, the state of New Jersey, and the communities he has faithfully served. And whereas, as a graduate of Fordham University and the Fordham University School of Law, Pat answered the call to public service early in his career, serving 4 years as mayor of the borough of Bogota and 9 years as a member of the New Jersey General Assembly, where he earned a reputation for thoughtful, bipartisan leadership and authored landmark environmental legislation, including the Watershed Preservation Act. And whereas in 1991, Pat was elected Bergen County Executive and served 3 consecutive terms over 12 years, leading efforts to modernize county government, strengthen public services, promote fiscal responsibility, expand parks and environmental stewardship, and help establish Bergen County as one of New Jersey's premier counties. And whereas, following his elected service, Pat continued his lifelong commitment to public service through education and leadership development as a clinical professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University, teaching leadership, homeland security, law, ethics, and public administration, while serving as seminar director for the Bergen Leads program, inspiring generations of public servants, business leaders, and nonprofit professionals throughout the region. And whereas Pat has further shared his expertise as an instructor for leadership programs sponsored by the New Jersey law enforcement organizations as a lecturer on history, leadership, ethics, and public policy. And whereas, as a retired captain in the United States Army Reserve, Pat has exemplified honorable service to his nation. And as a commissioner of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, he brought decades of governmental experience and integrity to one of the nation's most important transportation agencies. And whereas, throughout his remarkable career, Pat has remained deeply connected to the Borough of Oradell, continuing to serve on the borough's historical committee and as borough historian, where he shares his passion for history and helps preserve the rich heritage of our community for future generations. And whereas the Borough of Oradell celebrates the 250th anniversary of American independence, it is especially fitting to recognize William Pat Schuber as Grand Marshal of the 2026 Independence Day Parade, honoring a lifetime devoted to public service, leadership, integrity, education, military service, and community stewardship, values that reflect the very ideals upon which our nation was founded. Now therefore, I, James Coth III, Mayor of the Borough of Oradell, on behalf of the Borough Council, the residents of Oradell, do hereby proclaim today, July 4th, 2026, as William Pat Schuber Day in the Borough of Oradell, and accordingly to be honored as our Grand Marshal of the 2026 Oradell Independence Day Parade. We extend our deepest gratitude and appreciation for his extraordinary contributions to our community, county, state, and nation. Pat?
Thank you.
You think he took it off?
Guess that could work.
Pat, I would like to extend the floor to you if you'd like to share a few words. You
Jim,
certainly
yeah,
got
I
quite
would
the
like to,
quote.
please, if I might. First of all, let me thank you, as the mayor of Oradell, for this kind of proclamation. It was truly appreciated by myself and my family, and I appreciate all the effort that went into that. I thank the governing body for their support for this, too, and all of the people from the people of Oradell who are here tonight. Also recognize Friendship House, Andrew Costa, for his Eagle Project and things along those lines. When Jim had asked me to be the Grand Marshal, I truly looked forward to it. Unfortunately, my health did not allow me to be here for that day, and I ended up in Holy Name Hospital for 3 days. But I heard about the proclamation at the same time. One of the doctors told me about it. So I'm fighting battle now with cancer, and it's been a bit difficult. But back in the day, my dad, who served in the Second World War and was also a public servant too, had instilled in me the idea that we all owe a debt of service to our communities. I've always tried to do that in some way, shape, or form. And I don't care what health has done to me, I continue to be able to do that as long as I'll be able to be on 2 feet, to be able to give back to this town, which I love so much. I got a chance to see the pictures of the parade and the videos. I was delighted to see so many people who had come out for that day, especially for the 250th anniversary, which is such a special holiday for our nation. And I vow that as long as I'm able, I'll continue to give back to this wonderful town of Oradell. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Pat. Does anybody
Next on the agenda, we have a few presentations. Council President Kelly, why don't we start with the Friendship House?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy that we have some representatives from the Friendship House here tonight. It's been my pleasure, and I think everybody's pleasure over the last couple of years to get to know them, working closely with them. They've been just such a wonderful new neighbor to the borough, enthusiastically getting involved in many aspects of the borough, and we look forward to many, many years of partnership, whether it is tonight we're especially honoring the plastic bags and the benches program, but also the Arts Festival, and we've discussed things such as community gardens and other ways that they can partner with us. So at this point, I'd like to ask, Mayor, if you will, maybe we can go down to the dais and some representatives from Friendship House to join us up there. And if I know we have, the Friendship House has a thumb drive. If it's very easy, Kathy, if anybody can help Kathy from the Friendship House, maybe Chief, to pop those things in and to show some pictures while we're rolling up on the screen. And again, tonight we're specifically recognizing the plastic bag benches program. One of my committees is the Environmental Committee. A few years ago, Kathy Drewer, who's standing in front of us, we met, and again, our task is to kind of help the community, and whether it's recycling and swap shops and plastic bags. But one of the programs that Trex instituted a number of years ago was if we collected an enormous amount of plastic bags, they would reward the borough with plastic benches. And Kathy and the rest of the dedicated committee said they're willing to do it. And it's literally hundreds and thousands of pounds of plastic bags that they have tirelessly worked, I'm sorry, me to go on here, but tirelessly worked on a daily basis to take out of our garbage and our landfills, et cetera, et cetera. And I said to Kathy, you have a better chance of seeing God to get this done, but they got it done. And we had residents and volunteers, their homes were filled with plastic bags, their cars and their garages, and taking them over to places to be awarded that we have those benches throughout the town and throughout our parks. And we now have engaged our senior committee to work with them, and Friendship House enthusiastically joined the effort just a couple of years ago, and they really have taken the lead, and that's really why we're here tonight. So I just wanted to give you that background. So yes, without further delay.
Do they want to present anything first?
Yeah, you guys just want to show some pictures up there, I think, as we're speaking. I think.
Okay.
No, we could do that in the future. So you have that, right? Yeah.
So I guess while we're working on the computer, as the council president alluded to, we have a certificate of appreciation recognizing Friendship House, and it reads as follows. In recognition of your outstanding partnership, dedication, and commitment to environmental sustainability within the borough of Oradell, and throughout your collaboration with the borough's plastic recycling initiative, Friendship House participants and local seniors have helped divert thousands of pounds of plastic from landfills, earn community recycling benches, and promote environmental stewardship through service and teamwork. We further recognize and thank Timothy Figlia and Dermot Joy, whose leadership, dedication, and commitment have been instrumental in the success of this program and in fostering a strong partnership between Friendship House of Oradell and the Borough of Oradell. Your continued efforts have strengthened our community and serve as an inspiring example of what can be accomplished through collaboration, service, and shared purpose. And it's presented to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate all you guys are doing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really awesome. Really, really great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we're going to hear from Andrew Costa, who's going to talk to us about his proposed Eagle Scout project. Andrew, come on up.
Do I speak there or?
Whatever works for you, wherever you feel more comfortable.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Andrew Costa. I'm a rising sophomore at Bergen Technical Teterboro campus and alumni at Oradell Public and Oradell Middle School. I'm also current senior patrol leader at Troop 36. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my idea for my Eagle Scout project. For much of my early education, kindergarten through 5th grade, I was in either LLD classrooms or the resource rooms at OPS. And due to these services provided to me in those classrooms, I was able to flourish academically, socially, and emotionally, both in school and out of it, and was able to eventually move out of those classrooms into general education, and I'm proud to say I have also moved into advanced placement classrooms for both my freshman and sophomore year. I chose this project in order to give back to the school that helped me excel so much in studies and outside of school. My project entails me and at least 9 other scouts from Troop 36 cleaning the areas within the LLD classrooms that we plan to use and building sensory spaces that provide materials to stimulate all 5 senses for the kids within the classrooms. We plan on making tables and walls for Lego creation to stimulate STEM learning and engineering and play, of course, and plan on using music and other sensory items to regulate emotions, improve focus, and handle stress. I have already had numerous meetings with Oradell Public and its administrators, including Mrs. Holly, Principal of OPS, and Mr. Roth, the Director of Special Services. I have also met with teachers and synthesized their ideas with my own, as well as going in and acquiring measurements of the room. I plan on acquiring my materials through school-approved sites and locations and raising money through a family and friend fundraiser, in total requiring roughly $500. Again, thank you for allowing me to present my project. Do you have any questions that I can answer at this time?
Anyone have any questions for Andrew?
Sounds like
Just
a great
very good project. Good luck on
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is going to be a presentation by our public safety officials in Oradell talking about communications, 911, and shared service is with the Bergen County Public Safety Operations Center. I will say I'm going to go a little out of order in the agenda, and at the end of this presentation and discussion between the council and representatives of the police, fire, and emergency management, I'm going to open it to the public for whoever wants to ask a question or comment on this particularly. So I want to lay the groundwork because I know there's a little bit of, I'll call it hysteria that's out there on the internet. This is the first time we're hearing this presentation from our public safety officials. Tonight is going to be the start of a discussion about whether or not something makes sense for the borough to do. I presume that there will be a lot of questions asked by both the council and perhaps the public, some of which will be able to be answered, and others may have to be investigated further and reported on at a future meeting. I would envision us not only talking about this tonight, but at our next meeting and perhaps the succeeding meeting after that. There are no decisions being made by the council on this topic tonight. We're learning about this, and we're going to get answers from our public safety professionals regarding whatever the council wants to inquire. So without further ado, I'll turn it off to Chief Gangemi to start.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, honored guests, and the residents of Oradell. So we were tasked with this project late last year. We're going to go through a quick brief so everyone understands a little bit about how this thing works, where we're going with it, or where we're not going to go with it. So basically, this is how our current operations work. All 911 calls are received at Northwest Bergen Central Dispatch. That's located in Ridgewood, New Jersey. If you're in a car or walking around and you dial 911 on a cell phone, that 911 call is captured by the closest cell tower and then directed to the closest PSAP. Oradell is not a PSAP. PSAP is a point answering. We are not one of those. Emerson used to be, but now they went to the county. So either Paramus or Ridgewood would handle the 911 calls as they come in. All emergency and non-emergency calls dialed to the generic number, the 261-0200-0202, is answered by the Oradell Police Department currently. All requests for fire department and ambulance is made by the Oradell Police Department and Central Dispatch. All walk-ins are handled by the Oradell Police Department and the officer that's posted at the desk. Emergency DPW call-outs like sewer backups, problems with roads, collapses with roads, tree emergencies, that's all handled by the police department. We dispatch the DPW and then coordinate with them how to resolve the emergencies. All systems and maintenance upgrades are maintained by the Oradell Police Department and the Borough of Oradell. Everything is here. There's nothing anywhere else. We did pay for some upgrades to Central a bunch of years ago, and I think they're due for some upgrades in the near future, and I'm sure that's going to fall back on us, the vendor. Next slide, please. Bergen County Communications, otherwise known as PSOC, is what they provide is a new CAD system, a computer-aided dispatch, and a new RMS system, a record management system, through a company called InfoShare. It's a larger company than what we use now. We use Lawsoft now, which is works very great for us. The two comparisons are they both have eCrash, they both have eTicket, so it's not going to be anything new for our officers. Just the InfoShare system will be. All non-emergency and emergency calls will be answered by them. All 911 calls will be answered by them. And they will be the point of dispatch for fire, police, EMS, notifying the OEM and the DPW call-outs. All mutual aid will go through PSOC, and all goes through one point of answering. The communication systems and upgrades that we toured in early of this year with some members of the council and members of the fire department, it was pretty astounding. They have the top state-of-the-art systems. They have triple redundancy systems. Unlike here, we just have one redundancy system is the backup generator that's located just outside this room. And their technology is all paid for by all of us, the taxpayers of Bergen County, and it's maintained by them as well. No cost back on us. Next slide, Joe. This is how we got here. The centralized communication was been discussed for research by local officials, emergency personnel back in early 2000s. Immediately following 9/11, the disaster in New York City, Washington, D.C., and the plane crash in Pennsylvania, we had the emergency services back then had to look back on ourselves and see how do we communicate, how do we streamline communications, how do we simplify communications. Borough officials back then looked at what the county was doing, and they just weren't quite there yet. Their systems were in their infancy, their buildings weren't up and running yet, and they don't have what they have today. Early 2024, 2025, borough officials started the communications back up with Bergen County, and they started to see that, hey, the systems are up and running. We've come a long way. And then after I was sworn in as chief of police in July of 2025, knowing that the borough was interested in something like this, I asked to be involved since it's going to affect all of us. And talking with the governing body, I was tasked with researching and reporting on the possible transition of communications to Bergen County. Now, Northwest Central Bergen Dispatch in Ridgewood has served us for many years through the fire department. They do a great job, but they have faltered during major storms. And what happened this last storm, which the government called a downburst, we basically took over communications completely. We had 3 officers answering phones, triaging calls, and dispatching police, fire, DPW, and EMS to where we needed them to go. We had a call for the ambulance directly. That was probably one of the first times we've ever done that. And it was a little hectic for about 4 hours, and then we finally caught up. But the men and women of the fire department men and women of OEM and the DPW did an outstanding job, as well as our officers. It was probably worse than Hurricane Sandy, in my opinion. I've never seen that many volume of calls in a short period of time with that much damage and 2 injuries that could have been catastrophic. But thank God they will survive. I was also asked about how did PSOC handle that. So what they did, I talked to the director at Bergen County, and what they did was they had moved other dispatchers to other pods to handle the calls. They relocated, I should say, other dispatchers from other locations to the facility, the main facility in Mawa. They have 3 facilities now. And they did the same thing we were doing, stacking the calls, triaging the calls, and then getting them out to the cars. So it's very similar. Some of the pros, next slide, Joe. Some of the pros for PSOC I just wrote down. Seamless integration. It's one unified source of communications for police, fire, EMS, OEM, DPW. It's a regional communications, one answering point instead of right now we're doing 2 answering points, sometimes 3, depending on the 911 calls I explained earlier. PSOC has the ability to grow with our department because they have unlimited resources through the county, which we're very limited in this town and other towns just like us. They're able to update their technologies, their infrastructure, and keep their redundancy programs up to date. With that comes increased supervision for the Oradell Police Department. I can take that sergeant who would be posted at the desk, and he is now free to go to calls, not be tied to that desk. He can go to calls and then help the 2 officers on the field. That could also increase productivity for our officers because there'll be more on the road, and all of us will be able to respond to calls. Some of the cons, next one. There's no immediate desk officer when PSOC if they take over. Walk-ins will have to wait. They'll be delayed. What happens, they'll hit a button, there'll be a camera, and they'll be talking to a dispatcher in a different location, either Mawa, Paramus, or Lyndhurst. And they'll be advised, what do you have? I like to fill out a statement, or I have a complaint that I want an officer to take, and then the officer is dispatched back to headquarters. So there'll be a little delay, and the officer will come back, take that report, take that statement. For permitting and normal OPA requests, discovery requests, that will all be held through the confidential secretary. The other some cons is they won't know the local residents. They won't know the local knowledge of the borough. They won't be as familiar with incidents that are reoccurring, where when we hear an address or know a location, things start popping for us. We know what's going on. We may lose a little control of how we communicate. There is some adjustments that the police department and fire department will have to make in the way we communicate over a radio. Also, the radio now it is digital. It is only the Oradell Police on it right now. If we do go to PSOC, we could be paired up with another town like Emerson. The other con that I wrote down was I think the community perception is a feeling of loss of service, and that will just have to be determined. PSOC is up in Mawa at 285 Camp Guard Road, where the Police and Fire Academy is located. They have their own facility. Right now, they have full dispatching for 20 Bergen County municipalities. They are starting to dispatch some Hudson County municipalities. Union City is about to come on board, and so is the borough of Harrison. They answer 911 for 46 municipalities out of the 70 in Bergen County. And they did receive a letter of stating that they did a great job during the 4th of July storm from the Interborough Chiefs, which is just east of us. They're also, during that storm, that's what I was saying earlier, that they reallocated personnel and they moved other personnel to that facility to help out. It is an uninterrupted service, and they did handle all the communications for all the FIFA games, including the final, without problems. What's the landscape look like? If we go to Bergen County Dispatch, the PSOC dispatchers will handle all the calls. They will direct walk-ins to wait for an officer. PSOC will handle all police, fire, EMS, OEM, DPW dispatching, all non and also emergency calls if anyone calls the 0200 or 0202 number. The confidential assistant will handle all payment requirements for fees, permits, parking permits, OPRA requests, discovery requests between the normal business hours of 8 to 4. The police headquarters lobby will have to be outfitted for public access with an intercom, a camera, and that goes directly to Bergen County dispatchers, who will be able to see and talk to anyone that comes to see us to get an officer there. This does not mean that the officers are not allowed in headquarters. Officers still have to do reports. Sergeants still have to review crash reports, incident reports, and they still have to do their supervisory roles. So they will be in and out of the building. They just won't be there a static post. PSOC personnel will remain dedicated to dispatching operations without being diverted to other duties, which many times Oradell police officers are. The Oradell supervisor or desk officer will be available for service, and that is probably one of the biggest changes here. Moving on to the nitty-gritty, some of the cost analysis. We were giving pretty much the numbers to run the desk. When I started figuring out how much it actually costs, it took a long time to figure out. I started with a sergeant, what he makes, all that goes into it, all the deductions, and that's about $250K. And then PSOC, their original offer was around $234 to do full dispatching for us. The governing body felt, and we felt too, that is not a reasonable number, and it's not saving the town any money. The new offer was around $150, and obviously that is a lot less. A cost comparison, Joe. Cost breakdown. Those are all the breakdowns of what comes out to pay that the town is on the hook for just the employee on the desk, his base salary, his or her base salary, health insurance, workman's comp, Medicare costs, other benefit costs, and that's where you get the police officers' numbers. Go to 11. On a cost comparison, basically, it's $100,000 higher right now for us to run the desk than it is with the new offer from PSOC. Primary functions is what's going to change, how we record the calls, how we report the calls, and how we do our reporting. It'll be a little bit of a change for the police department because I think this is going to affect us the most, but it's nothing that our guys and gals can't handle. Scalability of it is all depending on borough staffing levels. When I kept watching the meetings about the affordable housing and what could happen downtown, who's getting approved for what projects and what projects are going to happen on the north end of town, that they're allowed to go from 3 stories, which is existing, to 6 stories. As chief, the population's going to increase. There's supposed to be retail on those first floors. That's going to increase. So, I went to the governing body and said, hey, we should start thinking about hiring more officers before we build up this town so much so we can answer these calls for service and not lose that kind of quality that we're all used to. And we went back and forth, and this came out as a quick solution to take those 4 officers off the desk and have them available. for service. And then we would just have to hire 2 police officers to make the our full staffing levels at 25. That would be 4 squads of 4 officers, like we discussed at other meetings, which would help us reduce overtime, which would cover vacations, compensation days, and et cetera, and also sometimes injuries. Go to 12. Basically, on the cost analysis, what's not included in the transition, all the systems that they're going to give us for InfoShare, the InfoShare system, all the software, we have all the hardware. Back in early 2000s, we did a communications upgrade where we went from an ultra high frequency to a digital system. And the digital system, we don't own it. The county owns it, believe it or not, and we are using it through the county. The new digital radios have cleared up most of our, I would say 90% of our dead zones. We still have, in some buildings, we still lose some communications, but it's night and day, this technology of digital communications. What they do not include is the licensing for each officer. The e-ticket printers will have to all be changed out of all the cars with the new printers. The MDTs is the computers in the car. We have to have them all licensed, which is a one-time fee. And then the uplink from the phone systems and the intercom is also an added cost, roughly $40,000. That's going to have to come straight from the town. Quick little history is as a small police department of 25 officers, transitioning to Bergen County Communications can provide some optional benefits as maintaining a modern 24/7 dispatch center, financially for the operational challenges. So the trade-off is basically they're going to be able to upfit, keep everything up to date, without the cost coming back to the borough. Right now, anything that Central does, any upgrades that are needed, any improvements, it's going to fall back on us, the vendor. Right now, at our desk, if we need anything done, it falls back on us. If we go to county, it would just be a radio here or there. They maintain everything. So there is that added bonus there. They have greater redundancy than we can ever have because just the abundance of money that they're allowed to have that we don't have. But looking at this whole project, stepping back, the success depends on how well the transition's planned and executed. We're going to have to take it slow if this is something that the governing body wants to do. It's nothing that we can't handle. We can handle either path. It's just a matter of what can we consistently pay for year after year after year without affecting the taxpayers and without reducing any level of service, which is most important for us. I know it's a lot, Mayor, but I wanted to get as many of the facts out as I could about this project because it is a big one. But if I am here and my other colleagues here, if you have any questions whatsoever, be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Chief. So I guess I would open it up first to the gentleman at the table before us if they have anything that they want to add that the chief may have not covered. I know fire approaches things differently than the police does, and OEM has a different function as well as a DPW. If you guys have anything you want to add, that would be helpful. Chief, I guess I would bait you with a question. Yeah, you get to move that thing in the front or take the microphone.
There's a hammer. You just have to turn that on.
I think one angle you can perhaps speak from is that all dispatching for the fire department is currently done by Central Communications in Ridgewood, correct? Not the police desk.
That's correct. So
Okay.
the fire department, as the chief mentioned, we currently now for years have been dispatched from Central Dispatch in Ridgewood. So That's a third-party dispatch center that dispatches us. They actually dispatch River Edge and New Milford as well, two of our most biggest partners from a fire service perspective. So transitioning to a different third-party dispatch center for us, I think for the fire department it poses less complexities than it does for the police department. I would expect, one of the things that the chief laid out the full, comprehensive transition. From our perspective, as long as we are considering a full comprehensive transition where we don't bifurcate things, leave 911 one place and dispatch somewhere else, if it all moves, that would be the most seamless. From the fire department's perspective, one of the things that's really important for us is the time differential between picking up a call and when the dispatch comes in. That gets us to the scene faster. So having everything in one place is important for us so we get dispatched quickly, so we can go aid our residents quickly. I expect when you look at this proposal, which seems to be fully comprehensive, that would achieve that goal. So there's going to be, from the fire, you had mentioned, and the chief mentioned, that there's been plenty of other towns in the county that have moved from whatever dispatch arrangement they had previously to the dispatching through the county. We've been monitoring that. I suspect there will be some, not growing pains, but I'll say there are going to be some details we would have to work out between us and the county to make sure that we understand exactly what we get dispatched for and what we don't maybe today. Making sure how will we be dispatched now with our trading, with our other partners versus today. I don't expect that to be overly complicated. So from a fire department perspective, we would expect a change like this to be one that would be relatively seamless and working with the county to work out the details.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Chief, before so I don't even want to get into numbers and other weeds right this second. There's plenty of time to do that. I think, though, it would be beneficial for everybody to understand a little bit more of the history, right? Take it back to your early days of employment. How did things function here in terms of somebody requesting help, right? So before there was a decision made at a point in a time for the fire department to go to an outside dispatch, they were dispatched by the police desk, right?
Right. So
Before we went to the new radio system.
In my early days,
yeah.
when I worked
go
the
back
desk,
to how things used to work.
So in my early days when I worked the desk, we dispatched the fire department. We did the nightly test, the 6 o'clock siren. If an aid call came in, we would call MyCom, which is EMS dispatching, and we would manage all of that. Then the decision from the fire service in the tri-borough towns of Oradell, River Edge, and New Milford decided it would best serve them if they got away from the police departments, and they were focusing on streamlining their communications. So they went to Northwest Central Dispatch in Ridgewood. For that meant for the desk officer, anytime there's a fire call, a gas call, electric call, we have to call Central. Central calls the fire department. Then we have to call PS Gas, PS Electric, and so on. Right now, it's the same thing. We call the vendors, we call PS, we call water company. If PSOC takes over, it'll be one answering point for everything that we used to do here back when I was a young officer. They will call the electric company, they will call the gas company, they will call all those utilities. They will also notify the fire department and police and EMS. It's one answering point. The good thing about Central PSOC is that the system they'll maintain through county tax dollars, where here we're maintaining our systems by Oradell tax dollars. The only thing we'll have to maintain is the mobile radios that go in the vehicles and the portable radios that go on the person.
When you talked about the equipment side of things, and again, my questions right now are just trying to lay the framework of how things have evolved over time to where we are right now. You talked about interoperability was a big thing after 9/11, right?
Yes.
I believe the borough went and pursued, was it the borough or the fire department, Joe? Fire department went and pursued an interoperability. Maybe you can just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it was back in 2021. There were problems with the police communications, the radios. There was not necessarily problems, but issues even on the fire side too. And so we were very fortunate in 2021. We did a pretty large radio upgrade program in Oradell. It was radios for a number of the departments, and that was in partnership with Bergen County already, who operates the large radio system in the county. So that's what the police operate on today. That's what the fire department operates on today. And so I think from a communications perspective, same thing. The maintenance, the things that the town was maintaining for police communications and the things that the town was maintaining for fire communications just became a major cost. And frankly, the equipment just became antiquated and challenging to maintain.
Right, and we got a grant that covered a large amount
Yeah, I think
of the
the
purchase.
project, I think, was almost 600,000, and the grant covered at least half of that.
That's great. So then, with the new equipment, we had to engage in interlocal agreements with the county to use their system with this equipment?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have an agreement like that today.
Okay.
For the use of the radio, for not the radios we own, but the use of think of it like a
Network.
cellular network.
Right.
The use of that is what we contract with today.
Okay. Before we moved on to that network, can you just talk about how it used to work with the older frequencies in terms of was the police department on it by itself? Was the fire department on their own channel by themselves? How does that work?
I mean, I'll talk about the fire department first. We were on a channel with probably like 30 other towns in Bergen County, and it was almost a nuisance because we'd be trying to talk while a different town was being dispatched, or even an ambulance was being dispatched. So for us, this was a huge upgrade for us because the channel we use today is just for talking and for response, and all the paging and dispatching is still done elsewhere.
Got it.
Police-wise, we were on with 4 other towns, and when it got busy, it was hard to communicate.
So use of this technology has been an improvement operationally from emergency service perspective.
Joe, could you just explain to the mayor how the new IOPS channels are working for us?
Yeah, so there's channels today that are assigned by the county for use by Oradell Police and the Oradell Fire Department. Those are like for day-to-day things that are happening. When there's an event, fireworks, Bergen Catholic game, graduation, we utilize other interoperability channels that the county allows us to use, so that day-to-day the police are talking on one channel, day-to-day the fire department's talking on a different channel, but on events like those, we have a shared channel so that police, fire, EMS, event people, OEM people, DPW folks are all on one channel. So, and that can scale. So depending on the size of the event, maybe we have one of those, maybe we have 2 of those, it really just depends. So that's been another benefit we've enjoyed the last couple of years is being able to do that. So the ability to do that is much easier today, and when we have assistance from other fire departments or from the sheriff's department or from really anyone in Bergen County, there's a number of a lot of departments have access to that system. Just makes the communication a lot easier for those types of events.
So, Mayor, when we, as the Oradell Police Department, we participated in the Bergen County Task Force for FIFA. All communications, all our officers that were assigned task force all switched over, and they're all on a common frequency for that task force down at the county around surrounding MetLife. So years ago, we would have to leave our portables here, go to the county and pick up all their radios and use their radios because we weren't able to share any frequencies. So we've come a long way from my days.
Okay. Chief, maybe you can elaborate. Has a police officer always handled dispatch in the police department? A sworn officer?
Not always. We did have civilian dispatchers for a few years. and I think it just became difficult to man the post with the dispatcher, and there was other costs involved. I think we were looking to do cost savings, and we went back to the patrol officer back on the desk. But we did have a time where we did have civilian dispatchers. We had a retired officer and other young dispatchers that were here. They worked usually a day shift, and then we would cover it at night.
Could that be an option today if we wanted to investigate that?
It could be an option today, but the problem is maintaining everything. Of course, today we can hire somebody tomorrow. Hiring is a bit difficult. Not a lot of people want to come for these per diem jobs. They want to go for the big county jobs and something that's going to have benefits. We can do it here, but long term, is it going to be sustainable for the town? I'm not sure. We would have to crunch the numbers with the CFO on that one.
Right. So my last question for now, and I think brings us to Kern, is you mentioned a little bit how your tour at the PSOC showed you how it worked. You mentioned in specific a quote-unquote pod. Could you maybe reference what a pod is and how that might apply to what the desk is and how things would function within the dispatch center?
So
I'll just bait you with one thing. Is the dispatch center work, every call that comes in gets stacked one ahead of the other, or is it sort of fragmented out and different pods handle different areas or responsibilities so that many things go on at the same time?
There are many things that happen at once up there. But if you have a general pod, and if the pod sign is Oradell, let's say, I'm not going to put anybody else with us for the purpose of this. If a call comes in, they're going to triage the call, and then there'll be one or two people stationed there. And if it's fire, it'll just move over to a different screen. Fire will get dispatched. If it's police, if it's both, it'll both happen simultaneously. But it's like taking the Oradell desk and putting it in Mawa and having two people man it and triage all the calls, all the stacking, all the systems. The officers will be able to see their calls in real time on a computer screen also while they're being dispatched through this new InfoShare system. So if you look at a large communications room, all right, let's say like NORAD, there's screens all over the walls, and then there's cubicles, which we call pods, but they're a lot fancier and a lot more high tech, with about 6 monitors per station and the 2 dispatchers sitting in each pod area. And they, at night it probably goes down to 1 because we'll call, the reduction of volume is just not there. But that's how it usually works.
Okay,
That
thank
answer
you.
it?
So open it up to council. Who wants to start?
I got a question for you. Thanks. Yep. So do you foresee, right now we have a minimum requirement of 2 people on the road, okay, because that makes the tour. That's the minimum requirement plus a desk person.
Right, 3.
Okay. You're looking to have 4 in a tour.
Correct.
Okay. Do you think that's going to significantly cut overtime cost? That's one thing that hasn't really been mentioned here, but so now you have a core of 4 with nobody at a desk. If 2 were to call out, we'd still have the minimum of 2 on the road.
Right, but the 2 on the road is basically, we have a 3-man minimum requirement. So that includes the desk officer. The 12-hour shifts, which the officers works only if its entire staffing is a full complement, which is 4 officers per tour. If someone calls out sick or gets injured, okay, we're down to the 3. The 3 officers are now on the road completely. So hopefully it's 2 patrolmen and a supervisor. If someone else has to go out for whatever reason, holiday, sick, whatever, You have 2. Technically, we're supposed to call in another officer to still have the 3, but we don't have to go up to 4. We just have to keep the 3. And looking at our call volume over the years and from when I started here, it's a lot higher in volume than we've ever had. Traffic is, I'm sure everybody agrees, has been unreal, the change that has occurred. And I'm sure it's not just Oradell, I'm sure it's every Bergen County town has seen this. And with the affordable housing coming, the reduction in staff would be non-beneficial, in my opinion, if we were to go that way. So I would recommend keeping the 3-man minimum, complement of tours, four squads of 4. Would greatly reduce. We're still short 2 officers. Would reduce overtime because I still have to fill those vacancies and to be able to provide the service that we do.
Thanks.
Yeah, Chief, that's a good point. I guess my question to you is, if we know we're going to expand, the town's going to expand, there'll be more population because of the affordable housing issue in the state. I guess my question to you is more of a capital question. We don't really have a large police station. We don't have that many patrol cars. I mean, where would we max out in terms of having, more patrol officers, given our capital needs and what we have now?
Right now, with the fleet the way it is, I think, Raj, correct me if I'm wrong, if we add one more patrol car to the active rotation, we would be able to sustain that extra officer on the road.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a major change for us.
It would be minimal. Worst case 2. This way you're running 4 day, 4 night. Potentially, if somebody's off, you're running 3 and 3.
Up the microphone right there.
Sorry.
real quick.
Potentially it would be possibly 2 vehicles, just to make it have a fleet of 8, 4 for the day, 4 for the night.
All right. Thank
But
you.
we're close to that now, so.
Yeah. All the officers are already equipped to do the job. Everyone's equipped equally, so there wouldn't be any change there.
I'm a little confused about what you presented here in terms of the comparison.
Sure.
And you're comparing a stated sergeant salary to using this new system, which would be a saving. But from what I'm understanding you saying is, if we use this new system, we'll be paying for the new system, but the person who would have been on the desk will still be out there. So we haven't really reduced our staff. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Correct. The question was for the cost analysis of what is it costing us to have the officer posted at the desk. That's why that analysis made the report. So to have the officer sit there and only do the dispatching job and answer walk-ins, your return on investment is that officer is now serving the public, going to calls, assisting with the patrolman and the supervisory role. So yes, you're right in the one aspect that no, we're not reducing the staff. If we were to reduce the staff, I don't think this program would work at all, because then your service would just would go down.
So then, if I understand you, if we don't have to have the staff sergeant at the desk, when he's at the desk, there are 3 people out on the road? 2. So if he doesn't have to be at the desk, then we can now have 3 people on the road. And
That's what we're trying to do. If that's
which
the
I
goal.
think is a net positive.
Yeah, it's a positive because, in my opinion, looking at what could possibly change this borough from what we know it today, we're going to need the extra hands to keep up with the calls. Where multiple cars could be tied up on alarms, medicals, and then another crash comes in.
Right.
We need that extra body instead of cutting
That's been
cutting
my
resources.
concern, because you have two guys involved in something serious, for example, and something else happens.
Yes.
Then you really need that third guy to be. And what do you do now if you have a staff sergeant, two guys on the road, they get involved in some serious accident, and something else happens? Who handles that something else?
Well, that desk sergeant would have to call mutual aid at that point.
He would call what?
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid. So somebody else from another
Yeah,
town.
a bordering town to see if they have a car available to come and assist.
So we would have to pay extra for that aid.
Well, we don't really pay for that kind of aid. It's,
It's an emergency.
one hand washes the other. They call us, we call them, and,
Gotcha.
it's an emergency.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one thing I want to say before we go is it represents my opinion. I think it represents the council's opinion. I'm not interested in looking at this from the perspective of reducing the amount of officers we have in the police department.
Oh, no, nor am I.
Right. If anything, this allows us to put an additional officer on the street.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should look at this from can we save bodies in the head count scenario.
No, that wasn't my question.
Right.
I was doing dollars and cents was my
Yeah.
question. And I'm not even sure that that's the complete answer. I've been concerned, as you have, we've discussed this, of only having two people and something happens and we need a third
So take
body.
one example. Take a Monday morning when school's open. Our two officers are at we're at all schools, but the major one that ties us up a lot is the Oradell Public School, because it's 800 kids trying to enter all the doors in half an hour.
Yeah.
And what happens is we have the commuting traffic trying to get to work, and then we have a lot of crashes. So I'm pulling officers away from the school posts, going to emergency calls, where now that other officer, he can be on patrol answering those other calls, and the officers can stay managing the school traffic.
Absolutely.
It's just, the demands of the police department are going to increase.
Absolutely. My 7-year-old daughter had a solution for that at OPS. She said they should just have chutes, and they just drop the kids in the chutes that go right to their classroom. And I said, it's an interesting idea. Talk to the principal and see if she'll do it.
I would love it.
I'm sorry. A little levity.
So, Chief, if I may, it
Yes, sir.
sounds like the only difference to the resident, if this was in place, if I'm going to make the phone call, I don't know if I'm calling here or Mawa, it wouldn't matter. Is it the only person it matters to is the person that's going to walk in the door, that no one's going to be there during the day or an evening, if that's the replacement there from a resident experience.
If the officer is not in doing reports, that experience of walking in and having to hit a button because you're not seeing the body there is the major difference
can
here.
you give me the approximate how many people walk in? I'm assuming it's a small number during the day. Is it 5 or 10 or 2 or 10? So, or is it realistic to have if that's simply somebody there, if there's sort of go forward, your assistant or somebody sitting there that's already in the building, is that if it's only a couple of people a day, and if that's the only change in resident experience with contact to the police department during regular, I can see at nighttime that would be the issue, but you know what I mean? Or is it a massive number or no?
Joe?
I mean, most services during the day won't change because we'll still have a secretary working to handle like parking permits and general questions when people come in. If a resident comes in with a serious, like a complaint, or we need to make a statement, an officer is just going to get called in off the road.
Right.
So that service will just be delayed, but not changed.
Yeah, but correct me, right now that the assistant is not at the window, so that's what we're talking
No,
about.
she's got her own spot and she won't move.
She's not answering the doorbell. I mean, I just mean 2:00 in the afternoon, the resident comes in, needs help. Now that officer is on the road and that desk is empty.
So that person will hit a button, the intercom with a camera will start talking to them. And
Then we have somebody to interact with the residents, so that's covered. Then that would be the case. So that's so really, in effect, in that scenario, there's no change to resident experience. Other than for the walk-ins, we have that covered. It's really just at nighttime, I'm gonna guess, right, when that person's not here.
If there's no one there, you're going to be talking to the intercom box.
Yeah. Okay.
Chief, if somebody comes in day or night and they have a law enforcement related concern they need a police officer to address, is that desk officer the one actually doing it, or is he calling somebody in from the road to deal with the resident because he still has to do his responsibilities at the desk?
It depends on, that's a little complicated question. It depends on what that walk-in is requiring. If it's a lost my license plate, a fraud, that desk officer is more than capable of handling that. If it's, I've been assaulted, it was a domestic violence, I was just robbed, that's a little bit more involved. The officers will be called in off the road, and, more officers will be working on something like that.
Yeah, that was my question too. I assume they'd triage those walk-ins when they're talking. They
Yes,
push the button. So if it seemed urgent, they would get somebody
Yes,
there right
absolutely.
away. Okay.
And the other piece you mentioned I thought was interesting, when that 911 call comes in, our officers see that in real time on their screens that they're in the call.
With the new system, not this system.
So they're anywhere in towns, I call and they're seeing my call come in from where I am. Well, that's pretty impressive, yeah. And they're not getting a call, they're seeing it though. They're seeing it come in.
They'll get both.
So would it be the case that if they saw something and they felt they were close or whatever, they could call dispatch and say, I'm right here, can I handle this or something? Is that
It's always possible, yes.
reciprocal like that?
It's always possible, yes.
I'm sorry, you looking at me for something, or you were? No. Stop talking to me. Dave.
Okay, Chief,
Yes, sir.
if necessary, did I understand correctly that operations could be returned to Oradell?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if it was a huge thing, we could still control things from here if they needed to relieve pressure at the dispatch, or what scenario would that occur in?
Disastrous.
Disastrous. Okay, fine.
Yes, but it is possible, and we're very capable, yes.
Okay, and with PSOC, would all participating towns be on the same frequency? Would you have the crosstalk issue that you were referring to?
No, they're looking at pair towns, so it would be 2 per channel.
Okay, and in terms of the familiarity with specific things that happen on a recurring basis in our town, the calls would still eventually get to an Oradell officer who is likely to be familiar with it as if he got the call directly. So there's not really any loss there. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate, if I may, my psychic ability. I'm going to close my eyes and ask for people to raise their hands if they're very, very comfortable with change. And my prediction is there are no hands up.
There's one.
That was going to be my other prediction. That Maggie would have her hand up. My point is that change can be good, it can be bad, it can be a mixture, but it's always uncomfortable. So we need to determine, what kind of discomfort if it's going to be good discomfort at the end or not. So I just raise that for all of us, because none of us are really happy with change just because it's change. It needs to be for a good reason. Thank you.
I think the bottom line is one more body on our streets to keep our residents safe, to keep the streets safe, right? All things being equal, right?
Yes. I mean, we've all seen the increase of, the number one problem right now is traffic.
Sure.
Pure volume has riddled every street that I know of. Multiple calls and emails from residents, asking us, can we do a better job at their area? And, with the extra officer, I can address more of those issues a lot faster.
Anyone else on the council have?
I just have a couple questions, Chief. You mentioned 2 towns are typically paired up in a pod. And how many towns currently in Bergen County use PSOC, roughly?
I have it on the
20. I think it's about 20.
20 for all services.
For all services.
All services, yes.
And all services is something that we would be interested in doing across.
Yeah, if we were going to do this, it has to be everything.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just not worth it. Because somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle, whether it's the DPW, whether it's the fire department. Obviously, we have the biggest transition as a police department But if we don't put everything in one basket, as communications and emergency services, there's other times you don't want to put everything in one basket, but in a circumstance like this, putting everything in one basket is more beneficial because it's one answering point. We're skipping the phone calls, the phone call chains, where we do now at the desk currently. So we're streamlining communications. This is something that's probably been coming down the pike for Bergen County. My whole career I've been hearing about this stuff. But now they have the facility, so it's hard to fend it off any longer,
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think we'll pivot and allow the public to ask questions. I don't want to time limit people, but I do want to ask people to kind of be to the point. There are questions we might not be able to answer tonight that we can get follow-up answers for. And if somebody's asked the question you want to ask, let's not try and repeat the same question. If you didn't hear the answer, you can perhaps just ask for it to be addressed. I do want to ask the chief, any of the chiefs, one last question. When we were talking about the current desk costs, you analyzed the salary and wage component, right, Chief? Are there other costs to operating that desk in terms of subscriptions or hardware or software maintenance? And Chief Moran, do we pay Central Dispatch now to handle certain functions for us? Because that would all need to be kind of evaluated in the...
I'll just answer it quickly for the fire department. We do pay Central Dispatch, quite frankly, a very nominal fee for fire department dispatch.
Okay.
So, we no longer would pay them that fee, but that's not a fee that's going to ring the register.
Right.
It's a very nominal fee. We would still utilize all the same radio equipment we have today. We would still, so that would all we would utilize. None of our frequencies would change.
Right.
So I don't view this as a cost savings for us. It would be an operational transition to a different dispatch center.
Do we pay them for the 911 component as well?
Yes. We do. Yeah, we do.
You do,
That's
okay.
Clearly the larger
Okay.
piece.
One last question to our public safety professionals. If there are things we don't have the answers to, you guys are committed to getting back to the council in writing on some things that we may need to dig deeper on, because I'm sure they will present based on what the public wants to ask and what some of the governing body may still be wondering about?
Of course, absolutely.
All right. I'll open it up to the public now. If we can try and target like 5 minutes or less for each person to come up and ask their questions, that would be helpful to advance the discussion. You can introduce yourself and please remain courteous at the microphone.
Good evening, Council. Ori Katzin, Laurel Drive. Good evening, Chief. Good evening. A comment to Councilman Dave that says that change is a little bit hard to swallow for some people. Oh, that's one of the other things I wanted to say, that with all that system, maybe we can eliminate that siren with all the digital technology that we all heard today that is going on, and if we so rely on digital technology, maybe there's a way to get rid of that. Councilman Benfield, in the last meeting, your counterpart, the Democratic Councilwoman Harar, said that she served 3 terms on the planning board, and she thought it would be a bad thing to join the planning and the zoning board, but then she said times have changed and it's about to get moving. So in answer to your question, times have changed. In that sense, we're all in a digital age. We all count on things. And I think that the initiative that Chief Ganjemi presented to us is a great thing. And I wish it would also lead to combine other municipalities in combined services, combine DPWs, possibly share tasks with other towns, possibly other departments in our town that could be combined and benefits from having, because we're only an 8,000 people, 8,300 people town, and Paramus right next to us, 55,000 people. I'm sure there's a way we can benefit from doing that. What Chief Ganjemi is proposing here is definitely something that would free our police force to be available for additional services, and I think it's a great thing to do. And I think there's things can work out to make sure that even though we like to rely on digital technology, meaning the calls that we make to our police or to our emergency is going somewhere outside of this borough, we just need to make sure that in times of emergency, just like the storm that we have on the 4th of July, those calls are actually going to go through. Because if they're not going through, it doesn't matter if we do it here from Oradell or we're doing it from Mawa. The call still has to go through. And one thing else I want to mention, I think someone mentioned something before about the emergency that was in the last meeting when the mayor spoke about the storm that we had. If your cell service goes down, just so you know, this is a lesson that everyone learned from Hurricane, I think from the New Orleans one. Text messages do work. They work on a frequency called 1x, and that's a long-range frequency. And even though you do not have any bars on your phone, SMS messages are still going through. So that is something, if the town can have any kind of receiving text messages from residents on top of phone calls, and that is something that Chief Ganjemi may be adding to, to his presentation, is not just phone call answering, but also text messaging. During the last storm, okay, when my neighbor's house got struck with, with a 3-ton tree that fell on it. By the way, Mayor, you know that I called your wife and asked you to stop by. I tried to get to the Oradell Police Department for about 30 minutes. No answer, no way. But if there was a way to communicate in text, it would be a wonderful thing. So add, please, Chief Ganjemi should add to his presentation SMS, because SMS works whether you have 5G or 4G signal, which we all have on our cell phones. The 1X always works. Always it's on and it's working. So if that initiative can be worked out, some of the details, obviously, Chief Ganjemi spoke about many details. I did not inspect them one by one, but I think it will be a good thing, especially if it's going to free our officers to take care of other things and be available. And the last thing I want to mention about overtime. As someone who employs people, we're celebrating 35 years in our business, employing many people and feeding a lot of families. Overtime is not something that we should be afraid of. Overtime usually means that instead of hiring additional staff throughout the year and paying them salaries and benefits, which could actually increase our budget more than the overtime, we're using our existing resources, the existing police officers, which got the experience, which everyone knows, which are spend already much time in here, and we give them an extra hours, but we count on their experience. Hiring new people to just fill up so we prevent overtime, it's sometimes actually not financially beneficial to the town. Because as the mayor said before, he's not looking to save money, but we're looking for experienced people to handle emergency situations. So in that case, if we have experienced people, whether they work in on regular time or whether they work on overtime, I would like to get the experienced person at the police department or at the fire department take care of the issue rather than bring a new guy that may be not familiar. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
John Falcone, 795 Damaris Place. Chief, thank you for the presentation tonight and for your attendance here also taking part of that. I have a few questions. I'll just list them out. You can answer what you can, what you can't. Excuse me. I think the one comment I would like to make, though, the gentleman just made the point about experience and overtime. Anyone can get experience by actually doing the job. I think what we need to be aware of for our first responders are not burning these men and women out. If there's excessive overtime, that's going to have an impact. Just like any of us, you get tired, you get worn out. You know, it's not just as much of getting crotchety or grumpy at work, but you're just not thinking sharply and clearly. We can't afford that for first responders. Another thing that I wanted to bring up too, before I ask the questions, one point I'd like to make is it's been spoken about a lot about having a resource officer at the public school. And the rumors that float around town are that the school is not for it because the thought is, well, the police department's right across the street. Someone can just get over there. If that is the line of thought, if that is the school of thought, what do you do if, God forbid, there's an active shooter at the school and there's nobody manning the police station, right? And hopefully, if we have 3 people on the road, to what Chief said, we have 4 people on the road, or at some point 5 people on the road. My concern is, are we going to have enough of a police force? To Chief's point, he needs to add headcount one way or another, right? Now I'm getting to the part of where I have some questions. Chief, when you brought up about the year one cost, that year one of $150,000 versus the call to $252,000 all-in cost for having a desk sergeant, is that $150 the all-in? And if so, or if not, that's year one. When do the inflators kick in? At what point do we see there could be a break even where county is more expensive than having the experience here in town?
I don't think we've gotten that far in final negotiations, John, but I would assume you'd find a typical cost of living to be anywhere between 2 and 3.5%. What you'd see in, cost of living increases that we give out to our employees would most likely reflect in a shared service agreement because the county would be looking to do that type of thing with their employees. So it's a great question. We definitely need to look at the numbers. The numbers aren't the only thing making this decision, right? That's the secondary thing. Right. Could this provide better technology and additional public safety to the borough? And if we save money in the course of doing that, well, then maybe that's a win-win-win. But we got to get the first 2 right before we get to the cost part.
Right, and it's a good point you bring up because that's actually secondary for me. I mean, we joke around about it, but taxes are going only one direction. No one's taxes ever go down, especially in New Jersey. But one of the things that was brought up was the fact that county is going to start picking up, I don't think it's on this slide, but county is going to start also picking up coverage for some Hudson County municipalities. Those are higher population density municipalities than some of the, the towns that it's going to be serving here in Bergen County. My concern is, are folks going to be stretched too thin from the call centers, from getting the responses out? Would 4th of July look differently if we didn't have guys at the desk and coming in? I mean, 4th of July was that day. Everyone's at the Grove. I think it's a real credit and testament to the department that guys were coming in off duty and guys were basically saying, hey, how can I help? My concern is, we don't have control over county, right? So at some point, what we say could be met with a thanks, appreciate it, we'll take it under advisement, and they're going to run things the way they want to run them, right? It's our town.
Well, except for the fact that we have a contractual relationship, and we both have to abide by the contract in terms of what those terms are. I think, because I don't know their arrangements with these out-of-county towns, I would think that they have staffing requirements that they're looking for the county to meet, and that they're in their own isolated service pods and not intermingled with other county towns.
That's
Chief,
correct.
you can elaborate.
What's projected is for those bigger county towns that are coming on, especially Union City, it's probably going to be a 4-person pod handling that 24 hours a day.
Right.
So they're going to be dedicated, they're going to be by themselves, and it shouldn't affect Bergen County operations.
Thank you. And, you touched upon something about how there's going to be a duly binding contractual agreement. we all know contracts don't give you rights. Contracts give you protections when one party decides they don't want to perform to what they agreed to anymore. There's obviously a political overhang of a municipality fighting a county, right? It's never clean. No one ever wins in a lawsuit except for lawyers. Regrettably, I'm not one. But another thing, and I'll leave it at this, and last question is, when was this initially brought to the mayor and council, and by whom? Who authored it? What was the genesis? You know, if roughly speaking, timeline last year, this year, and who really was putting the pen to paper behind it?
So two parts. I want to say 14 years ago was the first time we looked into this, and as the chief alluded to in his presentation, wasn't something that married up with what our needs were at the time, nor where the county was in their ability to provide the service. Chief, you started to look into this with like 18 months ago, 12 months ago?
Yes.
Again, resurging that now they had taken more towns on, their number was becoming more representative of the actual cost versus some crazy number that's pulled out of the air. So I think, you know, the council has a fiduciary obligation, John, to evaluate all these things that ultimately end in budget and how we provide services to the community. And whether this is right, wrong, or indifferent for us, this is absolutely a conversation that, you know, it's before us and we're going to have it again. Because, you know, I'll tell you, like, health insurance premiums are going up again. We're getting hit with another 6-figure increase to be able to pay into state health benefits. And to be honest, I got a problem just passing things along to the taxpayer and saying, well, we didn't have any control. It was given to us. We need to try and see where we can be both efficient and effective, right? One can't suffer at the expense of the other. And again, the ultimate doesn't always come down to the dollar. I'm speaking for myself, right? The dollar's real. I don't think any of us wants to pay another dime more in taxes. The taxes are crazy. I bought a house in this town 2001. They were $4,000. Same house is $17,000 today. I mean, that's just, how do you do that? At some point, nobody's going to be able to afford to live here, right? So we're all going to be looking for affordable housing. So I guess it's good that we're settling with a few people.
So, and I appreciate that. I hear where you're coming from. I think the concern, and I guess I'll leave it at this. I keep saying one last question. So I guess I kind of am a lawyer. I just keep going. Billable hours. The one thing I'm kind of interested in, and again, if this is a third rail and people don't feel comfortable answering, I get that, but I feel compelled to ask it. Oradell residents is a big way that a lot of people in this town communicate. There was a post put up by the Oradell PBA and laying everything out, and it was not on very long. I don't know why, but it seemed like the PBA wasn't in agreement, wasn't for it, was making a pretty strong case that you lose some of that first touch response that we have right there. And I think a lot of people in this room have been happy recipients of first responses. I know I have multiple times at my house since I've been living back in town the past 8 years or so. But clearly there seems to be some disconnect, and clearly there has been a concern that there would be a declination of service. And, you know, there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of overhang and a lot of commentary. I fully admit I'm one of them in terms of, I've used the term follow the money. I've used the term, you know, it's all leading back to somewhere. All roads lead back to Rome. All roads lead back to the county. Call that Hackensack is our Rome. My concern is, clearly there's some thought against this, and I guess how do we assuage that? How are I guess people going to coalesce around, is this a good idea or not? Will the cost benefit analysis, like the numbers that you'll get, is that going to be continued to be brought forth and blue skied for the residents to look at?
Yeah, there's nothing to hide here. I mean, John, I think to answer your question, part of the way you get out of the negativity that's been put out there, right, before we even had the conversation, which to me is kind of disturbing, honestly. If you want to hear the conversation and you want to hear the policy that's being discussed and you disagree with it, by all means, speak up. Give us a chance to have the conversation first before we throw a grenade in the room, shut the door, and run away, right?
No, I stand with the grenade. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
It's part of the reason you're up there.
I know. But I think we assuage it to your question by doing just what we're doing. We're having this public discussion. We're hearing from our public safety professionals. We're asking questions. We're going to have them go back and get more answers. And we're going to talk about this until we feel we're at a position where we can make a decision or we can't, and what the justification for whichever way we're going is. And honestly, from my perspective, that's the way we should approach everything we do in this town.
Do we have a timeline, deadline on it as far as when a decision has to be made?
No deadline. I don't know if the county's going to come back 6 months from now and say, hey, guess what? That price is no good. You're going to pay whatever. And again, that would have an impact on a decision we make. So, the reality is it's got to work. It's got to be relative. And we got to decide whether it's right or not for us. And we're not there yet, right? So this is part of a process by which we want to hear. We can look more. We can have this public discussion. We can share information. Nothing to hide here.
I don't think anyone's saying there's anything to hide. I think it's just the concern of it's a different way of changing things. And Mr. Banfield said it. Sometimes change can be good. Sometimes change can be bad. It's always a little bit uncomfortable. But, I'm not arguing against change. I'm just hoping things are fully vetted, that it is for the greater good. I shouldn't even say fully vetted. I just hope that the consideration is given to, is this going to be for the greater good of Oradell versus we're falling in line with what folks at the county might want for how first responses are handled?
I can assure you from my perspective as the mayor, that's not the case. I'm not going to fall for any other level of government coming in and saying, we're going to take this away from you, right? And we've exhibited that in how we've attacked affordable housing, right? Don't come and attack our home rule to a certain degree. I was on vacation. I gave the council president this thing I prepared to read about these crazy bills in the assembly where they want to take away zoning rights from municipalities. Baloney. Our job is to run the town, but our job is also to advocate for the town, stand up for the town, and fight for what's right. So we're doing our homework. We're having the discussion. In the end, we're going to come to some decision one way or another. And people may agree with it, people may not. But at least you're going to understand that we went through a process. We're very transparent. Reasons were laid out for or against. And what could you ask for more than that, right?
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time. Chief, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Paul Tsunis, 50 Beverly Road. I don't know whether I'm for it or against it, but I want to find out a few things. I'm concerned about communications, and I'm concerned that the equipment that we have, are we going to still be able to use the same equipment, or do we have to buy new equipment?
We've already paved the way to be interoperable whichever way we want to do it.
Okay. The other thing is, well, we're not going to have anybody at the desk. And I feel I like to talk to a person instead of talking to a box, especially when I'm excited about something that happened and there's an emergency. I want to see somebody's face, and I want to see that they understand me. And instead of looking at a box, I don't like that kind of communication. I'd like to see a person's picture or something. I want to see his face, who I'm talking to, if we can do anything in that respect. I know we're not saving any money by doing this, but I also am questioning whether it's going to cost us some time in getting a service. And I'm hoping there'll be no delay. I don't know. I mean, like I said, you're going to be talking to a box, and I don't know if they'll be able to see me and I'll be able to see them. Is it just like a walkie-talkie type of thing? I don't know what it's like.
I think it's very similar to the intercom you have to press now to get in through the vestibule outside if you don't come from inside the building.
No, that's just to get in, but then you come in and then you talk to the officer. The officer's there, and you know.
Right. But I think, maybe a minute, maybe two tops. I wouldn't imagine it'd be more than that an officer would be back at headquarters to talk to you after you've been buzzed in. And you're there inside in a safe space waiting to talk to them about whatever your issue is. And this is primarily after the hours of 8 to 4, right? So 8 to 4, administratively, the police department is staffed here. You can walk in just like you can today and talk to any of them if they're available.
Well, I know that somebody will be probably there doing reports and stuff So maybe they can still answer you, and I don't know if they'll be able to do that. I hope they can. And okay, that's it. I'm just hoping I don't lose time, and I hope I hope it's good. I mean, what happened with the planning board and the zoning board being combined, and I was against it, but I'm rooting for it to work because we want things to work, and I hope this works too.
Thank you, Paul.
Eileen Jones, Oradell resident. I just have a question. Chief, I know you mentioned that if we decided we didn't like this new way of doing things, we could cancel. Do you know at this point in time whether we'd have to wait till the contract, say, year expires, or whether there'd be a penalty or anything?
Can't say that.
Okay. And the other question is, I went online to look up about this new system, and I might have been reading something from the past, like 2011. I didn't, of course, the printout I made is home in the printer. And one of the things I read, and I swear I read it right, was that there would be no cost to the town. So I was surprised when I saw the $154,000 or whatever it would be. And the other thing was that if a town does not join up to the system, the county of Bergen will come in and check out the system we have now to make sure that it's up to date. And there was a phrase saying that could be quite costly. Now, from what you had stated, it seems like we are keeping up with the times and adding to our technology. So I don't know whether you heard anything about that or not, about the county coming in and checking out our system.
The county won't come in and check our systems. I assume, just like anything else, if you ask for it, they could come in. But right now, we maintain all our own systems through our own vendors. The other article you're referring to is the 911 service they were offering to towns for free to come aboard. I don't know if that's still a program, but what we're talking about is a full, all our services together.
Okay, thank you. And I just curious, do we currently use any police officers from other towns to fill in for overtime work?
For traffic details, when we're at all of our exhausted membership, then we have other towns come in, work for the vendor pays that town directly.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Hi, Zenobia Busha, Oradell resident. This is my first time here. A little nervous, but I like the process. So thank you, everybody, for hearing me out. So I'm a numbers person, math person, and I'm seeing different slides, and I know that's not what you do. This is not your day job. But if I put it all together, to me, the cost savings, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you said this is not a cost-saving thing. The cost savings are less than $56,000 a year. And this is how I come up with that. $100,000 from his first slide, $34,000 additional annual cost from all the licensing that was on a separate slide, excluding the $4,000 that is a one-time cost. I didn't use that. Plus, and I'm putting a number to it, another $10,000 we pay for 911 services annually. We must pay more than that, probably not less. So to me, we're talking $56,000 saving a year. We put one extra officer on the road. Great, I get that. But let's be honest. This is the savings we're talking about in year one. I work in IT. Cost of living upgrades of 2 to 3% are only applied to salaries, not to technology. Technology uplifts are usually 10% or higher per year. So unless you guys have a ROI for 3 years or 5 years, you do not know what your cost is going to be or your savings are going to be. Potentially, you might end up spending more than what has been calculated for a senior sergeant's salary. That sergeant will only get a 3% raise. Your technology will keep getting uplifted at 10%. So I would strongly urge the council to please consider long-term costs and not only look at one-year costs before making this decision. Right? That was my first comment here. Unless I am getting the numbers wrong, somebody can correct me.
Chief, was that a one-time expense or an annual expense for the licensing and the upgrades in year one?
That's all one time.
That's all one time because only one of those lines said one time.
Yes, you have to pay for the licensing for each officer. That's a one-time fee. The MDT licensing is a one-time fee.
Okay.
Printers, one-time fee.
And all the technology and equipment maintenance is expensed by the county. It's not passed on to us. We're basically paying for the staffing of the dispatchers. Is that correct?
So that 38,000 is a one-time fee.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
because one of those bullet points clearly said one time, so I assume the rest was annual.
Yeah.
I think the numbers need to be cleaned up a bit, right, as we go through and we talk about different things and we dig a little bit deeper than the surface.
Right. And getting out of contracts like this is very difficult. So it's not like one of the residents asked. We can't just tomorrow wake up and decide, hey, we don't like this, right? You can't just leave. Our old technology will not be up to date enough to go back to it, et cetera, right? So once we get in here, we're here for the long term. So we really need to think about this decision. I personally have had to call this local number twice in the 9 years I've lived here. I have had excellent response. The officers could not have been better. And one of those things was a tree hit my house, big deal. Another was super mundane issue, right? But they showed up immediately and it put my anxiety to rest. They took care of it. So it's extremely important to have that kind of response and that the officers know that knowledge of the community, right? It's very important to us. This person here prefers to talk to a person. I'm sure every one of us would, but times are changing and we can change with the times. But I just want us to be aware of what we're getting into and why we're doing it. Even after all this, we will have no cost savings and the police will still need more officers and cars to patrol the streets. So we are talking about anyway taxpayers paying for more stuff here, irrespective of what we do. If we do this on top of that, I don't think people are going to be happy. At the end of the day, we are going to increase taxes and pay for these extra officers and cars that the police department needs. Who's going to pay for it? Us, our taxes. My taxes have gone up just like everybody else's tremendously in the last few years. If you're anyway going to do that, leave that officer at the desk. The town seems to like it. The people seem to like it. It makes a difference to the morale of the community. And I think from what happened with the Facebook post, it also seems to be making a difference to the morale of the police department. And that is also very important. These are the people that are serving us, and we need to serve them. That is the main reason I'm here today, to show my support and respect for the police officers of this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Kathy Morris, Country Club Drive. I just have one question. Are we sure that the PSOC is not going to be using AI chat box instead of real people? This is my concern.
I can't answer
Because with the technology that's coming through, they're replacing people with AI, sounding like a real person, but not a real person. So I think it's something that you need to ask.
We can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think in this type of a job, AI is a suitable replacement. I think in other jobs, maybe it may make sense based on whatever that line of work is, but we'll certainly vet the question.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there because we don't know what they're doing. They may say it's a person at a call desk, but it's an AI who sounds like a real person. And I just don't want to go to chat box. Oh, what is your emergency? And it's not a person. That's my main concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Have any questions?
Hi, Joanne Gibbons, Oradell resident. Chief, my question to you is the fact that the MAWA facility was able to just go from a $200,000 a year fee to a $100,000 a year fee means that they are functioning obviously as a profit center and not as a shared cost kind of operation. So that just seems to me to mean, like so many other things, every year or whenever contracts come up, they're going to be optimizing their profits, and we're going to be battling with them to keep the costs down. And so that's just a main concern, along with the other concerns people had too about just taking something that we always felt a lot of comfort with, having our police desk sergeant there. We can call him when we're going on vacation. We can stop in if we see something, and having that outsourced to, who knows who or what, makes it more feel like the, going into ShopRite and you're just doing a self-check, or, pulling into Wendy's or whatever, and there's no person there. It's just adding to that depersonalization of the small towns. And so I, in my heart and in my understanding of the costs involved, I think that it would be very, very sad if we had to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Tripsis, 327 Maple Avenue. I consider this town like Mayberry, and I mean that in a positive way, where everyone knows each other. And I can tell you how many times I've walked up to the police department and there's always somebody there. Whatever the question is or the issue, it's comforting to know there's somebody behind the desk, and it's not going to be routed to in this case MAWA. But in my job working with Sprint and T-Mobile, I've gone to many police departments, and it's always irritating when you go into the department and you see a one-way glass window and a button, and there's really nobody there. And it takes away the personality part. There's a commercial right now out there for Chase Bank, and you're talking about, where you're dealing with robots, and it's about, Chase Bank is saying, well, we're human, and that's the message they're trying to point out. So I really hate to see us getting away from that. I understand, Mr. Coate, that we're growing, and we're going to have, with all the affordable housing, we're going to get bigger. But for the time being, I mean, it's good to keep that small town feel in some way, and this is one way, having somebody at the desk. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Hi, Linda Chagabanian, Oradell residents. I'm just here because I have really strong concerns about somebody not being at the desk also. I think that we have a school right here where most of the kids know that if there's an emergency, you could just run right over here and there will be a policeman here for you. I think that when we're riding on the road and there's a road rage or you're uncomfortable with something, they say to you, go right to the police station. We do that, there's nobody here, that's a concern. With all the internet buying, with people selling on Facebook Marketplace and all these things, they're telling you, go to that safe place, the police station, to meet a stranger, don't just do it. We have an older community here. We have a big older community here that needs to know that there's somebody here. Like you said, there's domestic cases where somebody needs somebody there. There's a new dad on his way to the hospital to get his new baby, and he's not sure if the car seat is right. So I think, you talk about monies and things like that. Maybe it's a money game, maybe it's not. I don't think it is either. I do think it's important to have enough safety on the road, and I thank all of you that do that already. I think as far as it being centralized already with the fire department, it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, because the fire department, when they're not on a case, they are home. So whether it's centralized or not, they're coming out of their houses and going to the fire department. They're not already there. So I don't think that that's the best comparison, but I do think that having somebody at that desk is super, important, and I just wanted to raise that concern to everybody, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Anyone else?
Hi, Carissa Ruiz, Gordon Court. I share a lot of the same concerns that the residents have already brought up, but what I would like a little more clarity on is in regards to OPS. I have 2 young girls. One is going into 2nd grade. I myself went to OPS, and the comfort of having an officer close by has always been there and is something that brings me comfort in having my children in the school. It is my understanding that there are surveillance cameras within the police department that are overseen by officers that are in office. Have also heard the same response at Board of Ed meetings where we've asked for, a retired officer, I don't know the right language, to be in the school for safety, and the reason given is always, or one of the reasons is that there's someone right across the street that can be right there quickly, which would not be the case in this new setup. So I'd like to understand a little bit more about the surveillance cameras. Is that a real thing? Is there someone overseeing them during the day? And then in terms of emergencies that happen at the school now and the response, like how does the response time and process work? If you could clarify.
So right now, the dispatcher, if there's a call at the school, he radios the cars to respond to the school. Yes, we do have the capability of viewing the security cameras for the school, which is be by the desk officer. That is something that we'd probably lose if we went to county dispatch. But for the officers being here to run right up the street is not always the case, due to the fact that they're out on patrol, out on calls for service, and if they're back here, they're working on reports. They are back here from time to time to respond, but it's not always the case. What was the other question you had? The Class 3 officer. So the Class 3 officer, we've been in talks for about 2 years now with OPS, and from my understanding from the superintendent is that they're going to put it on the November ballot as a public question. But we have reached out several times, had several meetings with the police and the governing body to try to come to some kind of agreement. Right now, St. Joe's and OPS are the only schools without Class 3. St. Joe's, the same thing, they're looking for funding. But there is one in Bergen Catholic High School and there is one in Riverdale High School.
Okay. So if it goes to vote in November and it's not passed, and this new system goes into place, then we lose the oversight of the surveillance that's happening currently.
It's a very good possibility.
So, Chief, is anybody actively monitoring those cameras during the school day, or you have access
They're not
to them?
actively monitoring, but we have all the school systems.
Right. You can access them. Riverdale,
to 'em.
OPS, Bergen
Right.
Catholic.
It's just impossible for one guy to watch all those cameras and do the desk job.
So maybe a question to ask, just to address this concern for our own edification, is if those cameras could also be monitored remotely at the PSOC and the pod, that would be handling this dispatching for us,
I'll have
right?
to ask that.
It's a question we should at least ask. But I just want to clarify one thing. If officers are in headquarters and not on the road, they're available to respond to something if something happened at the school. But what about the desk officer? I think there's a common misconception that that guy can run out the door and run up to the school and address an issue.
No, he can't leave his post.
Okay.
But he has access to the cameras and can see
Yes.
what's happening and be more informed.
Yeah, my guess is if there was an incident, he would then focus on the cameras and try and troubleshoot what's going on, which I'm hoping we're very successful with this Special 3 officer at OPS. The governing body, while it's not our question, I'm going to be heavily promoting it. I've been advocating for this for 3 years. I think it's ridiculous that we don't have it and it's taken this long. And they're the largest single building public school elementary district in the state without an officer.
Right.
It's just silly, right? So I'm hoping that gets approved. We're certainly very supportive of the school wanting to do that, and we've been encouraging them. I will encourage the town to support it. But that officer could also be somebody that's monitoring cameras on site, who's also in radio contact with whoever's dispatching, whether it's here or somewhere else. What does Anthony do any of that at the high school? Access to the cameras and things, right? So he's the on-site guy. That's his post.
Yes.
And in this instance, there would be somebody in the building during school hours. So I think that's a huge plus for public safety.
Yeah. Let's hope it passes. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Andrea Falcone. I just wanted clarification on the current process. If I dial 911 from my house, that goes, if I'm understanding it correctly, that goes to a call center somewhere else. It does not, the call does not go to the police department, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So as far as when you call 911, that's basically unchanged if we were to do this new model as opposed to what is happening now.
Correct.
Okay. And it's already happening for the fire department when you call 911. It's a fire emergency. That automatic is the same process as well, correct?
Depends on who. If you call 911, it goes through Central, and yes, they'll dispatch the fire department. If someone calls the police desk, then we have to call Central to call the fire department.
Okay. And under, the new proposal, it seems like if I were to walk to the police department and buzz the thing, it's almost the same as calling 911, correct? It's kind of the same situation because you're still waiting for someone to be called.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks. I just wanted to be clear on how that was going to change.
Chief, one thing quickly on the 911 answering. So if somebody calls 911, it's answered at the dispatch center. How do the police get to the house that's calling for help? That call has to be then transferred from the dispatch center to the Oradell desk?
They'll triage the call and then transfer it to Oradell, and then we have a separate line for that, and then we dispatch the officers to the call.
So if I heard you right during the presentation, that process then gets expedited when it's all in one central location?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Ori,
Chief, I just
Ori,
want to...
Mr. Katzen, brief. One bite at the apple here. We still got a meeting.
Just a clarification, because I think I misunderstood. During the school hours, the OPS school hours, there will be a person here at headquarters, right? It's not like it's going to be empty here at police headquarters from now on.
The way we run it currently, there's always an officer here, and there's officers on the road, but the officer posted here cannot leave.
Yeah, I understand, but there's still going to be an officer in here because I think there was a misconception here that the building will be empty.
Well,
No.
if we go to the county, there may not be an officer here.
Okay.
Physically.
That,
He may be
I
on-
need to clarify that.
He may be on the road. He
Okay.
or she may be on the road, but, there will be in and out. It's just not, it won't be a static post.
Right,
Okay.
but in all fairness, during 8 to 4, there's a high likelihood that one of the three administrators, i.e. you guys in the white shirts, is in this building.
And probably a supervisor because there's so much to do during the day.
Correct.
Okay, and the second thing is, if there's an emergency call, okay, and let's say there's multiple emergency call like happened on July 4th, the officer who are going to arrive at the scene are first going to be Oradell police officers, and then only if there's there's not enough officer, maybe other surrounding town, right? That means the call center is going to forward the call to Oradell police officers to be on the scene at Oradell if there's enough officers. Is that right? Then, okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diane Greenwald. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and Chief Gandemi for your consideration. We have lived on Lotus Avenue for the last 26 years. We moved to Oradell because of the hometown atmosphere. We have enjoyed the facilities of our town. Now that we are the senior citizens in town, the access to an officer in person has been a godsend, especially with my disability. I would support the increase of police staff in a heartbeat, rather than give funds to the county for their services and get lost in the shuffle. I have a question, if I may. What is the anticipated population increase with the building of affordable housing?
It's tough to say because we don't have developed plans submitted by any of the developers that want to come in and, in essence, get approval under round 4 of the Affordable Housing Act. I would say it's fair to say that the one parcel we've been in negotiations with the developer is for I think it's no more than 300 units. So if you assume that there were 2 people per unit, you'd be looking anywhere, I would say, between 600 and 1,200 people, because there's another parcel that we've not received any communication on.
And how many parcels are we considering?
I believe we've designated 3 parcels in the north end of town where this could be situated, where the office buildings are. And it's not something we've considered on our own volition. We've basically been forced by developers' actions under the Affordable Housing Program, the Round 4 rules, where if we don't work to accommodate this, they'll in essence get approval from the court to do it as of right.
Am I to assume W have no recourse?
The only recourse we have is to try and work with them to control it the way we would like to see it and be acceptable to the town. But to say that we don't want to accommodate the development, we do not have that option.
So we are talking about a significant increase in population, which will certainly demand more services than we currently provide.
I think that's a fair assumption to make.
In that case, we will certainly need additional officers to police our community.
I believe that's another fair assumption to make.
I would prefer we work towards keeping Oradell character intact by keeping services here with our own employees and police. increasing those jobs and services here in our town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public on the dispatching discussion? If not, I'm going to move to close it to the public.
Can I just ask one more question? Just something that came to mind.
Sure, John.
In the, I guess you brought it up in terms of the population density and growing population, the contract that we enter, and I forget, I'm sorry if you said if it was multi-year, but is there recourse for the county where they say, hey, your population is growing, we have to allocate you more resources, we have to charge you more?
No, it's not population-based.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything for discussion? I think we've had quite a bit of discussion tonight, right? Old business? Any new business? Laura, could we read the correspondence into the record, please?
Sure. Notice from Veolia Water regarding a surcharge filing hearing date to be held August 19th, 2026. And then there were copies of letters sent from William Peterson to various state officials opposing the proposed legislation. You got a copy of all of the ones that he sent out.
Okay, thank you. Chief Joe, Roger, thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Thank you to all the residents who came out to share your thoughts. We'll be continuing this conversation with more information at our next meeting. I'm going to now ask for a motion to open for public comment on non-agenda items.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're now open for non-agenda items.
All that's soon is 50 Beverly Road. I'm going to first talk about a couple of things, and then I'm going to get to my main thing. On the southern end of town, we should have received the money from the accident last year that knocked down the 3 light poles, and why haven't they been replaced by now? I think they should have been replaced by now. And has the sidewalk on Prospect been scheduled for correction and replacement? And what are the dates? Planning Board has failed to recommend an ordinance that storefronts must have windows. Hopefully, next meeting on August 4th, the dilly-dally will end on this issue. I don't know why it's being delayed. Viola on filtering microplastics, and when we will know what they are doing concerning Oradell, the Harworth facility. Now, this week in the Wall Street Journal, there was an article about microplastics, and it stated that it's in our bodies, in all of our organs, and lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, testicles, ovaries, and fluid of our eyes. So what can we do is eat less processed food, use steel water bottles, use an air filter in your bedroom, and opt for natural fiber in our clothes. And store food in glass or foil, and don't heat anything in plastic. Now, I went to Home Depot because my filter that I have on my sink, I used up the last filter. And I was pleasantly surprised, and I found that they changed the filter, and this is the filter, and it says, which the others didn't say before, total PFAs, VOCs, lead, microplastics, chlorine, mercury, and certain industrial pollutants and more are filtered out of this new filter. I was afraid the cartridge wouldn't work, but they designed it so it could still fit. on my original one. So this is the one filter. It's this is the name of it. It also says that the Brita filter that people have and they put in the refrigerator and everything does not clean microplastics. So right now, this is the only thing I found that does it, and I just wanted everybody to know about it. I thought it was great. Now, if they can do this, why can't Veolia find out how they're doing this and put filters for our water? That's what we should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Hi, Kathy Morris again. I just want to know the status of the Street Smart.
Could you stand a little closer to the mic?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to know the status of the Street Smart initiative. I did read the entire booklet, 40 pages, and they have some observations, which I walk the dog 6 miles a day in Oradell, 3 miles one way, 3 miles the other way. And they don't have some of the observations, like, for instance, they have the statistics of all the accidents that have happened, but they don't have the almost accidents, like the one I encountered this morning where I was almost a bug on a Ram truck in the middle of Oradell and Grant. I was in the crosswalk on Oradell, and a Ram truck was looking in both directions, but not in front of him, and gunned his engine and missed me and the dog by this much. I hear these accidents all day because I'm on Country Club right next to Grant. That's not part of the review. So every day I hear multiple almost accidents. I need to know when this is going to be resolved because it's crazy out there. People are not going 25. They put a 25 sign there. 25 is a joke to them. On Hasbrook, where one crosswalk on Grant in Oradell. There needs to be more than one because if you live on the other side of Country Club Drive, you have to walk all the way to Hasbrook before you can cross Grant, which is part of their report that said people are illegally crossing Grant. Well, because they're not going to walk like a half a mile, and Hasbrook doesn't even go all the way down to Kinderkamek. You still have to walk back to Oradell Ave. So I'm hoping that this gets on the agenda sometime soon to get a resolution, because I walk the dog a lot and I see a lot, and I've almost gotten hit almost every day. People don't stop at the crosswalk, the blinking light. Some man said to me when he was trying to cross, they'll run you right over. The crosswalks help somewhat, but I feel like people speed up so that they can beat me through the crosswalk. So,
We'll have to follow up with the chief and we can
yeah,
reach out
'cause
to you on
I
that.
did read the whole report, and I'm for some of the resolution of the three-way stop sign, because I really feel like if they have a sign that says three-way, you all have to stop. And I do cut down First Avenue on my way back from Kinderkamek just to avoid Grant.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Eileen Jones, Grant Ave. Kathy's a neighbor and friend of mine, and we have many conversations in my front yard. They're mostly yelling so we can hear each other, even when we're 6 inches apart because of all the noise from the traffic. And this leads me to, I cannot understand why First Street is still closed in one direction 6 days a week from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. All of the traffic is forced to come down Grant Ave heading south to turn and make a right
many times onto Oradell Ave. We also get the traffic from the New Milford area coming and meeting there. So my topic tonight is taking that sign down and opening it up to a right-hand turn off of Grant. I and my neighbors, oh, I'm sorry. Grant Ave is a municipal road, just like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Street are municipal roads. They are not county roads, neither Grant or Oradell Ave. Some of Oradell Ave is, but at the intersection on Kinderkamak heading east to Grant Ave, it's municipal. We have a double yellow line, and we are very similar in width to the streets of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We do not have any raised bumps or humps like they do. One of them doesn't. It might be 2nd. Sorry, I can't recall which one doesn't have the humps or bumps. Years ago, I tried to have the council reopen 1st Street completely, and I failed. I do not intend to fail again. The Grant-Oradell intersection does not only have the burden of the traffic coming from the north, but from the south and west as well. The intersection of Grant and Oradell Ave is in the same residential zone as 1st Street, 2nd Street, and 3rd Street. Our taxes are based on the same basis as 1st Street, 2nd Street, and 3rd Street. Yet we are treated like secondhand residents, and this has to stop. I pay for the repair of those roads, snow plowing, the police that protect and maintain their safety, and I probably even paid for the humps and bumps that were put down as part of my taxes. And yet I am denied total access to them. If I'm in Haworth and I feel like driving down, because I like to drive down different streets in Oradell, I don't do it just as a shortcut to cut through. I do it because I want to see what's going on in Oradell. I like to look at the houses. I like to look at their gardens. As a Zone 2 resident, I get the trucks, buses. The buses now have audio to them, so as they're going to make the turn, you hear them. I can hear them up in my bedroom. As a Zone 2 resident, I get the trucks, buses with audio sound, the ambulances, the motorcycles, the loud mufflers, the booming cars, the horns, the blaring, people cursing, radios blaring, and the fumes from idling cars waiting to make their turn. I want justice and I want equality in that area. I don't understand how being in the same zone, getting hit with the taxes at the rated costs that people are based on, why we're being penalized on Grant and Oradell Ave. I pay a lot of taxes in this town, and so do my neighbors. This closure to access to 1st Street coming from the north side, I did read the Street Smart brochure. I signed up for it, got a copy of it, and one of the things that they do mention in that is that there is excessive traffic. One of the people were complaining when we all met on the corner, excessive traffic at Grant Ave and Oradell Ave. And having 1st Street closed for that length of time is forcing the cars to come down to Grant Ave and Oradell Ave to make the turn. One of the problems there, too, is that people do not put on their right-hand blinkers until they're practically up to Grant Ave. We can't make them do it. There's no way. They should know. These are people that probably travel that route every day. They know they're going to make a right-hand turn. They wait almost till they're like the fire hydrant that's very close to that area, and then they put their blinker on. But by then, the people that want to make a left can't, because they didn't know that the people are going to put their blinkers on to the last minute. They could have gone. And that causes backup, so that the people behind them don't understand why they didn't turn when all these people are turning down Grant, so the horns are blaring. And years ago when I was trying to fight this, one of the reasons where they talked about, well, there's children on First, Second, and Third. Well, P.S., there were children on Grant and Oradell Ave at that time, just like there still are now. And it seems like there aren't children playing in the street. Most of the time, you don't see children playing on their front lawns. So it's not a matter of the children are going to rush out into the street. It's just a matter of people want the quiet. They want the peacefulness. And yeah, their houses could be sold for more because they don't have all this traffic and cursing and horns blaring constantly. And it is constant. And when I'm there, I'm out in the garden most of the time in the front of the house and still working on my driveway area. And, oh God, now I'm getting one of those. And I see that so many accidents happen and almost happen from people coming east on Oradell Ave that want to make that left-hand turn onto Grant. And I was out there one day, and within an hour and a half, 3 times there were screeching brakes and this close to having a collision there. There are some people that on a daily basis, every time they drive by the intersection, they've got their horn on because they want to tell everybody, I'm coming, don't move, don't hit my car. But how is that for the residents? It's awful. And traffic's only going to get worse. At one of the last mayor and council meetings, a woman came up here and she was talking about the affordable housing, and her street is near the school. And I understand and I sympathize. None of us, who wants traffic? We don't want it, but it's coming and it's not going to stop. And letting some streets have priority closing is not right. It's not fair to the other residents. So what I'm asking for is, respectfully, by the next council meeting, could you please provide me with some very good reasons why the sign at First Street should remain? I can't think of a reason why the residents of First would deserve this special privilege at the expense of Grant Ave and Oradell Ave. It's just not right, it's not fair, it's not equitable, and I want equality here in this town. And something about the crosswalks. I had mentioned before at the meeting, I would never cross the street on those crosswalks at that intersection. I don't even know why they came up with the rule that a lot of crosswalks are at intersections, because the people now are not the people driving that were years ago. They're looking to the left. They're looking to the right. They're so concerned about pulling out. They're not looking in front of them. Somebody could be standing right in front of them, and they don't even notice them in the middle of the crosswalk because that's not where their attention is. I looked up online,
Eileen.
and I looked up online, and
I don't mean to interrupt you,
I
but
know.
can we wind down? I've let you go like an extra 5 minutes from the original.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I looked up online, and in New Jersey, crosswalks don't have to be at intersections, according to what it said online. They could be in the middle of a street, but they cannot be connected to a driveway. So it could be possible to put a crosswalk where Country Club is a U-shaped street that meets up with Grant. It could be possible halfway down to put a crosswalk there, not on top of a driveway, where residents are not looking to make right-hand turns or peel out or make lefts at the intersection, but they have a straight road in front of them. It is straight, Grant, on that end. And hopefully they would see someone in the middle of the road and not have the distraction of trying to pull out of somewhere. You've already completed that hazard.
Arlene, I'll follow up with the borough engineer and the chief and see what kind of a dialogue we can have about some of these concerns.
I also had planned on meeting with the chief before tonight.
I would still meet with him.
Excuse me?
You should still have a meeting with him.
Oh, yeah, I will. But unfortunately, our timing was off, and I got distracted with some personal things, so I wasn't able to do that. But then when I knew that Kathy almost was run down today, and she's not the first one. The man that lives 2 houses in on Grant, that walks to ShopRite every day, he works there. I don't know his name, he was hit and knocked down in the middle. And that was I believe over a year ago. Luckily, he's okay. He was sore, but I don't think he had to go to the hospital, but he was knocked down by a car.
I think we have a good picture of the dialogue that needs to be had on the heels of the Street Smart report. So we'll make sure, talk with the chief, follow up with him, because enforcement's part of this, right? But we'll have further discussion about looking towards the future and what safety improvements could be beneficial there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else for non-agenda items?
Richard Delato at Country Club. Just to follow up, just very shortly, you could put humps on Grant. I've been living in that house for 40 years, so I can tell you that they speed. As soon as they come off of Oradell Avenue, it's a racetrack down to First. Thankfully, they've ripped up the road now to put everything in, so it does slow them down. But you can put humps in that road, and it will do the same thing, and it's not going to foul up the ambulance corps or anybody else. And I've seen them all over, not only First Avenue, they're all over the place. In densely populated areas. So that's a way to get around all the speeding and racetrack that they do. And I didn't need people standing out there like they did that to check it, to talk to everybody. I've been there 40 years. I know what goes across that road. And they're speeding, at big time speeding, not just a little bit. And when they repaved everything, it got even worse. But now that they ripped it up, and I'm hoping for some more rip-ups, because that'll solve the problem.
But that's more noise with the landscaper trucks.
That's all I have. I'm just letting you know, something is wrong there.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't wait till you have to put teddy bears and GoFundMe pages to pay for somebody's death. Because it's on you, if it is.
Thank you for sharing.
James Hayden, Country Club Drive. I'm changing the subject entirely for a moment. I have not been following the affordable housing issue. Could you just briefly tell me, you said at the north end, did I hear someone say a 6-story building is what they want to put up there?
No, not 6-story. I think it's 4.
Okay.
4 is the tallest. So what used to be known as COA, Council on Affordable Housing, Round 4 rules, new legislation, required us and empowered developers to go to communities, and we're not unique, this is happening all across the state, and say, hey, I'm going to help you out. You have a quota you need to meet. I'm going to develop this property because somebody wants to sell it to me, and I want to put all these units of housing on it. We've spent a very, very long time and burned many hours negotiating through mediation, developing plans, and trying to get to something that can be somewhat reflective of Oradell. So we're not signed and sealed yet. We're not 100% there. There is one developer that we have been in negotiations with since October of last year. I hope we can find something that's amicable to, provide affordable housing to those who need it, including people who work in the DPW or police officers who are younger in their career. There's definitely a need for workforce and affordable housing, but we don't want to become the next kind of master development of some of these larger developers who are just out to make a profit. So what we're trying to do is work with people to make a section of town that might be more of like its own little district or community within town, so much like we have the latch string, the manor, and across your end of town and things like that. So
this parcel that you're talking about at the north end of town, is that where the Ballvelt Mansion is, or across
No, it's across the street. So there's primarily been interest from the property owners of the 3 of the 4 large office buildings offices seems to be a failing market in this area, and they believe that their properties are underutilized, and they've looked to partner with developers who will come in and bring, a mix. We look to mixed use. So there's housing, there's some commercial, there's some other services that would support the housing that's there, coffee shop, cleaners, whatever it is.
And where were the other, you said there were 3 parcels that that you were in discussion about?
The 3 parcels that are just immediately south of Dairy Queen on the east side of the street.
Okay, so all 3 of
ones in
those are the 3
question, yes.
parcels. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else under non-agenda items?
Ori Katz in Laurel Drive. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. In your last meeting 2 weeks ago, I happened to be overseas, but during my lunch break, 7-hour difference, I was able to listen to you guys the last council meeting. Mayor, you thanked the DPW, the police department, and the fire department for extraordinary work during and after the cleanup of the storm and whatever they did. And you went lengthy about their contribution and their help. But I would like to thank those who deserve the most thank, more than the police, more than the fire, and more than the DPW. And these are the neighbors of the people who got hurt. They deserve the most thank you. Residents of Oradell helping other residents. Those deserve the most thank you, because people came out of their homes, those that did not get affected by the storm, looked around, and if they saw a resident that their house got hit, needed cleanup, needed something, they did. Okay, my wife and I did the same to our neighbors who their house got hit. I think it's the second worst, according to the fire department and Mr. Depkin, the second worst one, the Bova's house. But our street did not have electricity, and we have a very powerful generator. I was able to power the refrigerators of 3 houses beside my house, 3 other houses, plus remote neighbors who we could not send extension cords. We asked them to bring their frozen goods and their perishable foods into our refrigerators. We took out things that we did not really need to there and do. And I heard that a lot of other residents did the same as I did. Went to the neighbors who got affected and offered them help. So those deserve the most thank you. You spoke about that the system needs improvement. There's wrong things that's going. There's things that are not. And you even thanked Paul, who is a frequent here, that is all the time pointing out things that need improvement in our system. Yes, the system definitely needs. And you were talking about that people who come up and speak about issues here should not do anything personal to any person that works in this building. Those issues can be ironed out outside of this meeting. I understand. I feel like I'm owed apologies from 3 different town officials for things that were done to me in 2004 while running for council. I still did not get that. I'm not gonna discuss this now, but just so you know, when I did point out something in 2004, I heard later on a feedback that I should not point out wrong things in a system, especially as someone who wants to run for council. And I think it was wrong, because if there's things that needs improvement in this town, it is the job of those concerned citizens who came over here to point these things out. So these notes should be taken and things should be improved.
Ori, I want to correct one thing. I did not say or require that residents who come up should not say bad things about employees. I spoke to the council.
Okay.
Okay? So I would hope that residents that come forward would conduct themselves accordingly, and that's all I can do is hope. I'm not going to control the residents. I'm not going to censor them. I'm not going to tell them what to say.
But I think you are right. I think you're right. Even residents that come up here should not point out to a certain town official.
Right.
These things should be ironed out during the course of business, and they should be done, in private, not in this official stage.
They should be, and I agree with you that, there is a benefit always to the residents coming up and pointing things out. I don't think people should not point things out if they see something wrong.
Okay, I 100%, on that one, I 100% agree with you. Now, I want to point out that we do have an internet star in this building. His name is Paul Atsunis, okay? Because when I go on the Oradell and the OPTV can check this out, when you go on the YouTube channel of the Oradell, the official town of Oradell, where you see the zoning board meeting, the council meeting, and all the other televised things, then comes up, I'm not sure if the camera can, I think it's that one. Nick, if you want to zoom out. Do you know who this guy is? The algorithm of YouTube scans the videos, and I guess every zoning board meeting, it sees the same person come in here and talk. So the little icon about the Oradell zoning board meeting is a picture of our internet star right here. And he got a few likes too. Okay, and the last quick things I want to mention, and by this I do not imply that any of the council members that were elected in the past 2 years were elected illegally, but I do think our governor, that after pressure had to admit that the motor vehicle registered over 6,000 illegal and non-citizens to vote in New Jersey, and in the last election, just the last 2025 election, over 440 of them voted, illegal residents who voted in our system. And I know that this is a problem in New Jersey, that there is a little checkbox when you go to renew your license. Those boxes, even if it was not checked, employees of the motor vehicle checked them and gave licenses to illegal residents, which in New Jersey it's not allowed. California is, but not. And those people got registered to vote, and they blamed the software company, and the software company exposed the truth. It was the employees of the motor vehicle who automatically do. So I know you guys were not elected by illegal votes, okay? But just people should know it is a problem in New Jersey. Illegal people are getting registered automatically to vote when they go to motor vehicle to obtain a license, okay? And by that I'm done, and now I will just announce something that I just told the Chief Ganjemi, and I wanted to speak to Fire Chief Terry, but he obviously an emergency. During the last emergency, I had 2 police officers who came over to the house across the street, and I waved them down to call them to see the damage. And then they called the fire department also, and the fire department came, and the fire department called Inspector Depkin, and he obviously declared the house as unlivable. This is a flashlight. LED flashlight, rechargeable, okay? The officer who came in only 30 minutes after sunset had their flashlights on, which could barely show them the way to the back of the house. When I put this flashlight, okay, and I can point out, and you can see how strong this is, it was outshining the police officer's existing flashlight, okay? And I just spoke to the chief outside, and Joe, my wife and I will donate 3 of these to the fire department and 3 of these to the police department to test these out. It may be a much better than what they have. The fire department came in with those 6-volt square flashlight, which they have to hold in a handle. So now they only have one hand usable because they're holding this giant flashlight with this 6-volt batteries. Instead of having something like this that not only rechargeable, but you can get additional batteries in here
Jim,
that can be
Jim,
charged.
Mr. Katzen has exceeded his time well over.
I'm donating. This is
a late meeting already, Ori. If you can save this for another meeting, I would appreciate it.
I'll address it.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
So all I want to say is that we are going to donate these for them to inspect, and if they like, I will consider donating more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Move to motion to close for non-agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a motion to open for the consent agenda only.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry that I had to get up again, but I had prepared this from before. I didn't know this meeting was going to be this long. 26-164 specifies COLA for affordable housing, $6,532.10. I believe that COLA was disbanded in 2024, so one time before they had COLA there, they took it off and then they used to put miscellaneous. So now they went back to COLA again, so, I mean, that doesn't exist anymore from what I understand. On 26-168, insurance broker services be rejected based upon our qualified purchase agent. Who is the person, and are we I can't read my writing here, I'm sorry. Abandoning or a competitive contracting process. Are we now abandoning our competitive contracting process pursuant to the law and rejecting the NJSA 40A 1113.2? The 25-261 being rejected. Are we doing that?
Yes.
Well, what purpose is it? Does that mean that we're going to go outside of them, outside of the state bidding procedures?
No. Joanne, would you like to address this just briefly? We're gonna rebid it a different way because we didn't get the result we were hoping for the first time. It's the simplest way I could explain it. Going out for a separate public procurement. We're classifying it as an extraordinary, blah, blah, blah. I forget what the acronym is.
Unspecified expense.
Unspecified extraordinary service. We believe that this will yield a better result to find the right professional to help counsel the borough with regard to health benefits and such.
Okay. 26-169. I think this is along this. Does the resolution allow the town to enter its own negotiating for services and are not bound by the state regulations? That was my question. And so the governing body awards by separate resolutions outside of the state requirements?
No.
No.
You're still within the state
You're
requirements.
still within the
Yes.
state requirements? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
On 2611, this is on the ordinance, and I'm just,
This is consent agenda, Paul.
okay.
Sorry.
Well, I had noted that there, okay. I'll bring it up another time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you,
Sorry that I was a little long-winded again.
No worries. Entertain a motion. Okay, you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Next, we're on the consent agenda. Does any member of the council wish to pull an item for separate vote or discussion?
I have two quick questions, if I may. One is on 26-168. There was a structural breakdown. What does that mean? In the evaluation.
I'm sorry, if you don't mind, I spoke
Okay.
to the QPA.
Yeah.
And that was directly from him.
It's just strange language.
Yeah. It's his,
I believe what he's trying to infer is that the process broke. It didn't work according the
Yeah.
way it was envisioned.
yeah.
So instead of proceeding with something that's flawed, he'd like to scrap it and redo it the right way and be
Okay.
prudent about his
And then
procurement.
I have a parallel question in 26-169. And again, it just may be the language. It says a non-fair and
That's
open.
just, the pay-to-play rules are fair and open or non-fair and open.
What
That's
does
all that
non-fair
means.
mean in that
It
context?
just means that we are not, we will have to get from whoever is the winner of the award a political disclosure form saying that they have not contributed in excess of a certain amount to this governing body. And
So it
we know
prevents pay to play.
Exactly.
Thank you. That was just obscure. Thank you.
Anyone
Mayor
else? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda resolutions 26-164, 26-169.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Ms. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Banfield?
Yes.
Okay, in the interest of brevity, my report will be extremely brief. Councilman Tashian is going to talk about the wonderful response and assistance we've gotten from other towns' DPWs. I'll simply say that I will be visiting council meetings at each town that has come to help the borough recover from the storm. I believe we're somewhere around 8 to 12 towns have sent their DPW for varying days to help us make light work of a lot of work. So that is something that will not go unnoticed. I will be visiting each of their council meetings to thank them very much for their generosity and their
If there's
service to
any
the town.
duplicate nights, let me know and I'll be happy to attend.
You're happy to join me if you'd like to.
No cost.
Yeah, right. And so this is something that we're going to talk about. Police and fire have mutual aid that they can automatically rely on. There's really no such thing for public works departments, although they do help each other whenever asked. But something on this scale was sort of extraordinary, so I'm going to work with the Public Works Administrators Association to try and set a program like this up where they can all rely on each other for help, and that councils would be accepting of, you know, helping others when others need help from you and expecting help when you need it. So I think it works really well, and we're just very, very thankful for their help in the aftermath of that storm. That's my report. Administration, Finance, Council President Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee's met a number of times over the past few weeks, reviewing capital budget requests, and we look to kind of finalize those meetings in the near future and then come back to share thoughts with the rest of the governing body and bring that forward for a capital budget. As we see tonight in resolutions, we did pass the audit with flying colors with one minor recommendation, which we took care of. And as mentioned also, we're close. We're pretty much at the goal line in terms of the banking situation, and we look forward to when we're there in terms of realizing some serious increase in revenue just from negotiations from the banks and really putting them in competition. So more to come on that, hopefully in the near future. But good news there. Administration, again, as you can see from our resolution list, that committee continues to meet often. On a resolutions list tonight, appointing our, we lost a staff in the DPW. We appointed Danielle Stevens tonight to the assistant there. So there's various kind of ongoing personnel moves, and looking for, again, positions in other departments. We also have a good, we asked for and we have it now, a good organizational chart of all of our employees, just to make sure that we're staffed correctly and, and serving our residents to our best abilities here. Environmental beautification, continue ongoing programs. We talked about one tonight with Friendship House and all the others, Swap Shop, Styrofoam, fall river cleanup, as well as shredding events coming up soon. Beautification, I have contacted been in contact with a couple of groups that maybe can spruce up our downtown for free, and maybe some potential artwork and things like that. So that would be pretty exciting. Hopefully more news to come there. And seniors, we've just met recently. Again, continues to be an active group. I know there's an archery class coming up soon. Also the administrator, we do have the senior van, which is used quite often, just to lay out some ground rules on that use, that it's for medical appointments and ShopRite, et cetera, and not for kind of, stops at various places where people want to stop. Those stops have to be scheduled, et cetera. So we sent that note out recently, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. DPW and Engineering, Councilman Tashjian.
Thank you, Mayor. Going to start off with saying I think I'll speak for the whole council to thank Chrissy Kay for her 10-plus years at the DPW. Wish her tons of luck in her future endeavors. And then I'll speak a little bit about the storm. Over 1,500 total hours, nearly 400 hours of overtime, 150 storm-related work orders, covering over 120 town trees that were lost. Many thanks to Emerson, Tenafly, New Milford, Bergenfield, Bogota, Lodi, Washington Township, Teaneck, Rivervale, Woodcliff Lake, and Harworth for providing personnel and equipment throughout the recovery. Most importantly, thank you to all the members of the DPW who performed stellar and really got the town back to where it is. They're going to be focusing on stump removal and sidewalk repairs over the next week and getting back to normal park maintenance going forward. So thank you to everybody at the DPW. Chrissy, best of luck to you in the future. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Fire, audit, compliance, and ordinance, Councilman Kern.
Yeah, so I don't have anything for ordinance except to adopt the ordinance, but before that, I'll go into Audit and Compliance Committee. The Audit and Compliance Committee met with our municipal auditors to perform a comprehensive review of the 2025 municipal audit. The Borough of Oradell remains in a highly favorable financial position. The budget is balanced, and the auditors have issued a clean, unmodified opinion on our financial statements, affirming the integrity of our financial reporting. The budget details, so the borough's financial standing strengthened over the past fiscal year, driven by strong revenue growth and exceptional tax collection and responsible expenditure management. Favorable audit opinion, as discussed. The borough received an unmodified opinion from the auditor, which is the highest and cleanest level of financial assurance provided. The fund balance surplus, so the fund balance at close of 2025 was $4.9 million, an increase from $4.6 the prior year. The surplus represents approximately 20% of our $21 million overall budget, indicating a very healthy and stable reserve benchmark. Revenue generation and tax collection. So the borough successfully regenerated $1.8 million in revenues against the $1.6 million of the fund balance utilized, resulting in a net generation of $200K. Interest revenues exceeded projections by approximately $150K, and tax collections were exceptional, hitting a 99 collection rate, yielding an excess of 408K over the anticipated amount. Expenditure and savings lapse funds, so 614K from unspent 2024 appropriation reserve budget safely lapsed directly into the fund balance. And we successfully canceled a $194K from operating budget and an additional $3,600 in unspent debt service reserves, all of which flowed back into strengthen the fund balance. Debt and capital position, the borough's statutory borrowing capacity is highly robust. We have only utilized 3.5% of our allowed limit, leaving approximately $64 million in available debt capacity. Following the $8.3 million serial bond issued in recent years, our long-term debt service payments remain level and predictable throughout 2035, preventing unexpected spikes in our capital obligations. Moving on to the compliance side of it, the compliance portion of the audit was incredibly clean, with only one formal recommendation requiring corrective action, which we did tonight. It was for a contract encumbrance corrective action. Basically, the issue was the auditors noted a single exception regarding a contract awarded to General Recreation of $161K in December. The contract funds were not properly encumbered in the financial system at the time of the award. And of course, the resolution, the necessary financial adjustments have been made, and the encumbrances are now accurately reflected to secure the contract balance. And again, as discussed, we voted on the corrective action today. Moving on to Oradell Fire Department, small update here. I received a preliminary report from the fire chief outlining recent call volumes and storm response statistics. I can provide a following factual information regarding the recent department activity. Year-to-date volume, the department has responded to 276 calls year-to-date. July 4th and 5th storm response during the severe July 4th storms that battered our county. The department responded to over 75 calls for service. Of course, as I mentioned before, the storm brought down trees, utility poles, leaving many without electricity and creating impassable roads. And the volunteer fire department managed emergencies within the borough to provide mutual aid, including a response to a mutual alarm structure in River Edge. And that's all I have, and I guess we can move on to the adoption of the ordinance.
Okay.
So, Mayor, ordinance number 21-11 is ready for final reading.
Will the borough clerk read ordinance number 26-11 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough of Oradell amending Chapter 280 Vehicles and Traffic, specifically 280-39, Schedule 13, parking prohibited at all times.
Has ordinance number 26-11 been published in full, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the general public?
Yes.
Is there any member of the council who wishes to discuss this ordinance further?
All right, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that ordinance number 26-11 be passed on final reading and published in the Bergen County Record for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026.
Second.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Tashian?
Yes.
Mr. Kern?
Yes.
Mr. Gullo?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hare. Mr. Banfield?
Yes.
Okay, public safety and a lot of other things. Councilman Gall.
Public Safety Committee did not meet this past month, so I don't have a report. Obviously, there's a lot of activity going on. The only thing I will just mention is the summer concert series has kicked off on Thursday nights. We had some environmental issues one week in terms of smoke, but we've had a lot of great response. It's a great evening just to come out. So again, we have the Chicklets this Thursday night, 7 p.m., Memorial Field. Bring a chair. And just want to thank Lindsay Rinderknecht for the successful completion of the summer rec program. It wrapped up last week. She did an amazing job in terms of just, getting the two assistant counselors, directors in line. We had a lot of great counselors this year. We had a lot of great kids. And I just want to, thank Lindsay as well as Tina for their hard work. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Historical Library Economic Development, Councilwoman Herrer.
The Oradell Historical Committee is working hard on the Oradell history book, picking pictures. They have the chapters outlined. They're narrowing in on the photographs, and it's going full steam ahead. And they're getting all kinds of help from people such as I just went blank. Pat Schuber, sorry. Our historian, Pat Schuber, was there at one of our meetings, was enormously helpful, as was Lou Essler, who cares a lot about Oradell history, so that's going very well. The library is having so many wonderful activities. They had a great reading session for young people. Coming up on Tuesday, August 4th, is Fossil Fun at 11 a.m. But I encourage everybody to look at the Oradell Public Library website. And don't forget, you can get museum passes and visit free. You can do a free visit to a museum, and children can enjoy our museums in the area. So they're doing very well. We're continuing to interview business owners, and we're hoping to organize in the fall a meeting of business owners to talk about economic development in Oradell, and we will give you further information about that.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Board of Health, Municipal Drug Alliance, and Boards of Education, Councilman Banfield.
Thank you. Oradell Public School met on the 22nd of July. They will be, the school will be implementing some new science standards. And as was previously mentioned, this November there will be a separate ballot question as to hiring a Class 3 safety officer at just over $73,000 for OPS. Board of Health, a reminder for residents to register their dogs and cats. Rabies vaccines can be provided for free if you check in with Melissa at the Borough Clerk's office. Those will be given by Oradell Animal Hospital, and also Bergen County provides clinics where rabies vaccines can be given. And I'll have more about that at a future meeting, and that's my report.
Thank you very much. Joanne, anything under the Borough Attorney's report?
I'm sure you'll be happy to know there's none.
You're the star of the evening. Thank you. Borough Engineers report, Catherine?
Yeah, I have a couple things. So miscellaneous concrete, the dugout project, as well as the Hoffman Field irrigation project. We're just waiting on the final comment and okay for those plans. Once we get that, we'll make sure to coordinate with the clerk and the administrator for dates to go out to bid for that. As far as Memorial and Lotus, we're finalizing the last items for permit submission for those, which include the fees and the notices. Those should be going out later this week. And then the DPAC, we're working on some revisions per your last meeting with Dave. For 411 Grant Avenue, we're receiving the emails and the inquiries on that. We have reached out to the contractor. I know earlier this month Dave had a walkthrough with him as well as our head inspector to mark out locations, and all those have been coordinated. We have confirmed all locations of the concrete replacement, and the contractor has assured us it's going to be completed prior to end of summer. We told him that answer was okay earlier. It's not okay anymore. We need the finalized date of commitment of when he's going to come in, and we told him to provide us that by the end of the week. So we should have that this week, and once we get that, we'll make sure to forward that to the borough as well as all those who have been inquiring. So that's that. And then as far as the NJDOT resolutions for the grants that were passed at the last meeting, those have been uploaded to PMRS. Those need to be signed off by the mayor and clerk as well prior to July 31st for those grants to be done and submitted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one thing for Dave. He and I have been corresponding about the creek on Howard Court.
Oh yeah,
East.
he has mentioned that to me.
If he can reach out to me tomorrow, we need to come up with a plan for, we did a short-term stabilization in one specific area in the advance of the rain we had last week, just to protect against further erosion. But I need to discuss with him what the long-term plan is and how we're going to put that in motion, because I don't think it's an easy easy
No,
fix.
yeah. Like, I think there has to be like some emergency permit submitted to
Yep.
DEP for that one, but,
Yep.
okay, I'll make sure to bring that up.
I want to move on that. I don't want to sit on it. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
He's on vacation. I believe he's on vacation.
It's okay. I was on vacation. I came back too. All right. Seeing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Laura?
Check, 1, 2. You see, if I was president, I'd roll up my sleeves as I face the congregation. First thing I do
If
is
I Was
free
President
education
by
in
Las
every
Cafeteras in our Democracy Now! studios. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.